Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite, Written Writ Ralph, talking to you straight from our show here, Apple Bites, where we take a bite out of the apple and then share it with you. And of course, today we got Jesse and Matta hanging out,
Yep.
geeking out, and being all crazy.
As we do, as we are wont to do.
That sounds like a plan.
I like to say, insanity is a virtue, and I'm a very virtuous person.
That's a good saying. I gotta remember that.
It's similar to my philosophy. There is freedom in confusion.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that too. A lot of wisdom going around today, and it's not even 8 o'clock yet.
Look at that. We got Tate, we got Japan, and we got Celeste. Well, that's a pretty good way to start the show. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, we got like 3 people already. Awesome.
So, you know what, Jess? You can start the show. Tell the people who you are, all the good stuff, and I'll show off your stuff on the side.
Dude, thank you. So, hey, everybody. I'm Jesse Judy. I'm the creator, writer, illustrator of Ashes of Eden, an indie comic that I published through my company, Arcpunk Comics. And we are now up on Kickstarter. For our very first Kickstarter, very first campaign, very first comic, 51 backers. We were at 49 this morning, so that makes me...
Oh goodness, I love it when Ralph checks people's campaigns because the numbers always go up.
I was about to tell you guys that when I was back there trying to get this up, it was like beep beep beep.
Yeah, there's magic in them. I don't know. Anytime I check a campaign, it doesn't move or it goes down, and anytime Ralph checks something, it's like, oh, it's gone up like 3 backers. Like, okay, cool.
Ralph, whenever you come in, we got to play the Transformers theme. You got the power. You got the touch.
Yeah, you got the touch.
Exactly.
You got the power.
Because Ralph got the magic touch.
Yes, so this is Ashes of Eden. The adventure starts off with a dungeon crawl gone wrong.
We've been through those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A search for a legendary treasure going completely haywire when our main character Ash unravels a thread to forbidden knowledge, and that ends up being the true origins of humanity. So there it is. That's This is the Kickstarter. We have 3 more days left, so we're coming to a close pretty soon.
Come on, 3,000. You're
I
so
know.
close.
Exactly.
Let's go
So
3,000. Let's go 10,000. But no,
You know what? Dream big. Shoot for the moon. Shoot all the stars. Shoot the sun. Shoot everything.
shoot the sun.
Shoot the sun.
Because we all know that it's love you 3,000, but then it's infinity 10,000. Come on.
Possibilities are endless.
I'm happy with $3,000. If we hit $3,000, I'm the happiest boy in the land. That makes me so happy. I'm already stoked that 51 people decided that, oh, I want to see this book from these guys that have never made a book before. That just warms my heart. It means so much to me. Like, literally, it hit me last week. I can use words.
Words are hard.
I had to get to wake up every morning and say, I'm a comic publisher. And while I have been for 4 years, see you, Ralph.
Oh, well, you know what? It's our show now.
Hey, there we go. While I have been for 4 years, Kickstarter kind of really made it feel solidified. Like, no, that's actually what I do now. That felt nice. How about you, Matta? What's your experience?
That was weird.
It was weird.
Oh, welcome back. The
I
host.
don't know where it went. I wasn't here. That's all I can tell you.
Ralph had a temporary out-of-body experience. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying because, I mean, selling at conventions is super hard because people aren't usually there for original comics depending on the convention. Like, doing webcomics is hard. I think, like, I wanted to touch on it last week when we were talking about it, and I was saying that, you know, I had some very strong opinions on webcomics. Because I've been in webcomics since, like, 2013-ish. Like, and no one's heard of me, which just explains like how terrible it is to be in webcomics because like I've been around for a while. That's been like what 11 years.
That's a good chunk of time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's oh my god, that's like over a third of my life. Like that's almost a quarter of my life.
Matter, I feel you because we're about to celebrate our 9th anniversary, and I still get people go bitten who.
Yeah, and it's like it's super frustrating. Like it's hard to spread the word in webcomics, especially because there has been like so many webcomics around now, so much content, so much different websites, and then like, you know, I'm gonna be the person who is like Webtoon ruined it for a lot of us because then everyone's just like, oh, do you make a webtoon? Like, no, I don't make a webtoon. I make a webcomic on my own site. And it's like, trying to translate over to like webtoon and their vertical scroll format, and just like print comics don't work well in vertical scroll format. Like, you're going to lose a lot of the cool layouts. Oh my God, I'm such a fan of like you do too, like the super wide, like establishing shots, word,
Yeah.
establishing shots.
Dude, I'm a fan too. It's funny because every time I'm looking at whatever comic I'm writing, my panels are similar to this because I like the longer panels with what's all the stuff happening.
Yeah,
So
and you
can
have
see a
like all
little
the
bit of it,
environment going on, and then you put that on webtoon, and it's like this stupid little tiny thing where you like lose all the details, you lose a lot of the pacing. It's just like, what is the point? Like, oh my God. And not to mention just the way that webtoon itself operates is just I could rant for like 4 hours about how
But
terrible
they
it
weren't
is.
like that before, right? Wasn't this change recent?
I mean, the change, I think, happened maybe close to 2020 when they started having their own, or 2019 maybe, when they started having their own original content and then paying people for that, and then, promoting their own original content. But then also at the same time, they're not paying their creators like a livable human wage. Like, they're getting the bare minimum. They're supposed to churn out like 40 panels every week, which is like, okay, then you have to use some of your own money to hire an assistant to get your deadline. So many people have ended up in the hospital from like exhaustion, just like trying to meet their deadlines. Like, it's completely just wrecked the way that webcomics have been done, and I hate it so much. And it's always like, going to a con and having someone be like, "Oh, are you on webtoon?" I'm like, no, I'm not, but I have a print comic right in front of me for like $6. Would you like to read that? Like, oh no,
here.
yeah, like take the fucking comic. Just buy it. It's like, but no, I mean, like, the audience on webtoon also, it's just like bored teenagers who are just looking for something to read while they're like between classes or on the toilet or whatever. They're never going to give you money.
Yeah.
So, like,
unless you're a Lore of Olympus and you pop off and like get a really nice publishing deal,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's like akin to winning the lotto. So like, as far as I was concerned, being in the game since 2013, and then, in 2019, 2020, still nobody had heard of me. It's just like, my last resort was just like, all right, I'm going to try to self-publish through Kickstarter. Like, no publisher wants me. Like, Webtoons has been a bust. Doing my own webcomic has been a bust. Like, whatever. And then it's like, when you finally get that response of people like coming into the Kickstarter and like giving you a try when like they had never heard of you before, it feels so special. And it actually, it makes it feel real, because then you have that sort of like, I'm actually selling books. I'm not just printing books and taking them to a convention and hoping somebody buys them. Like, I'm like, people are pre-ordering the books, which is like, that just adds a whole other level to it. Like, people want this thing.
It's pretty cool. I think Kickstarter is, yeah, and I totally hear you on all of that with webcomics are tough. Like, we ran ours on our own website for about 3 years. And like, while that was a great experience, it was, it's a smaller audience that's going to like follow the traffic to your own website unless you run ads regularly,
Right. And then they don't buy anything from you, though. That's the other thing, because it's like, I hate to say it, but we are doing this to make money. We spend a lot of time and effort working on our comics. It's not like you just kind of conjure up a comic page out of nowhere. Like, no, it's going to take you anywhere between, I don't know, like 5 to 30 hours or something per page, depending on what you're doing. And it's like, to put all of that out there for so many years, and then just, have a couple of people comment on it like, oh, hey, wow, that's cool. And, you put up your little online store and you're like, books are for sale on my website, guys. And then you're sitting there just waiting and waiting and waiting. And yeah, and then, nobody buys, because they're like, why am I buying it when I can just read online for free?
That's fair. That is fair. I think one of the challenges that we faced with that is like, I totally hear what you're saying, like finding the traffic that'll come and actually convert to sales and like pick up the book for a price tag. It was a lot tougher running it as a webcomic than it was to be at conventions with physical books, because then at least you have something physical to display, and like you're there in person, so you can pitch it and like give them, like roll out the red carpet for them in person. I always feel like I connect better with the audience, like with readers or an audience in person anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, also there's a thing of like, the people who would read your webcomic versus like the people who buy comics from a con. The Venn diagram there is like two circles that don't even touch anyway. So you need to find that audience at conventions anyway who will like buy a physical book and like, come back to find out what's happening next.
Yeah.
In conventions, you at least have those guys that they see an issue 1 and they go, I want that.
True. Yeah.
Even if they're like, oh, I want that and I'm never going to read it, but maybe it'll be worth money someday or something or whatever. Just like, I made a sale. I'm the happiest kid in the world.
Right.
Because most of my friends who do the conventions, they say we sell plenty of issue 1s.
Yeah, always keep your issue 1s in stock. That's one thing Tyler James always says is like, you will never have enough issue 1s, but you will always have way too many issue 2s, and I definitely have that problem.
That's fair. Yeah, he's a big proponent of that. That's something I think we both learned from the Comics Launch program was like issue 1s on Kickstarter can be such a special event.
Yep.
Just for the very fact that it's the beginning of something new and it's like a number 1, like people will want to show up for that. And
yeah, and it's like it's a good jumping in point for people who haven't heard of it either. Like I actually the year before I had like sold out of issue 1, so I did a Kickstarter to like reprint my issue 1s, and I did like a new cover for like people who already had issue 1 who were with me in the trenches from the beginning, and like even that was like a huge hit, even though it was just like, all right, I'm reprinting this, but also I'm doing it, the same issue with the new cover. Like, I got so many new backers, I got so many like returning backers. I might have to do it again soon. I don't know.
That's really awesome to hear, because like that's something we've kind of been talking about internally. Like, when we push through, because Ashes of Eden is like planned for 20 issues for now, and that's essentially like 5 years of work laid out for us. It's because
5 years, that's like 10 years of work. My goodness. Unless you can actually manage to crank out like the 4 issues per year or whatnot. Like I tried, I couldn't.
10 years. Hope praying that we land somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's like 7 or 8.
Tate's like, I have to reprint Pacifica once.
Well, Tate, you know what to do.
Okay.
But when you guys do the trade paperbacks, those do well too, because it's a bunch of issues in one book, right?
Yep. I've heard people say that like single issues are for collectors and like trade paperbacks are for readers, and I firmly believe that, because I'm also like a trade paperback reader, because I like having like a huge chunk of story to just like sit down in a comfy chair with a cup of tea and you just binge the whole thing. It's like you get through a single issue and it's like 18 pages and you're just like, but I want more.
Yeah.
It was that bad when I was a kid, I can tell you that much. Because you went to your store, you bought your issue, and you want to wait for the next month for the next one. You're like,
dude, yeah, that pissed me off as a kid. Like, I didn't have a lot of comics as a kid, but the ones I did, they were just like, random issues that I'd gotten from like friends or like family members or whatever. And just, it's like, in the middle of a story and it's like 18 pages and I'm just like, I have no idea what happened, but I want to know what happens next. And I'm like big mad about it.
Right. I love that. Yeah, that reminds me when I moved back to, because I moved away from New York for a little bit and like city hopped following film. But when I came back to New York, for some reason, and we all know the reason, it was so important for me to have a pull list going. So I made sure, like, for 2 years, religiously picking up my pull every Wednesday from Forbidden Planet, which that's where you and I met.
yeah, right. Forbidden Planet.
I don't have my pull there right now just because, like, life's crazy. Making a comic. Can't pick up my pull every week.
Yeah, it sucks because when you start making comics, you don't have time to read other people's comics anymore.
No.
I was going to say, in all fairness, is there anything you're interested in right now that you would like to be pulling? Because I can't say that.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm picking up. I am starting to pick up. So there's been news since we last talked. Oh my God, we're actually in stores. We're in stores now.
Oh, cool! Nice.
Yeah.
That's big news. So
that is huge.
You led with that.
Yeah, led with that. Seriously.
We're in one store. We're in one store right now.
That's good.
That's so great. Yeah.
It totally counts.
Which store, so people can go over there and bother them?
A dear friend of ours, David Acosta, who's the manager of Manifest Comics in Bayonne, New Jersey, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the city. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate that, man. It's a hop, skip, and a jump off the PATH train. Maybe like a PATH and an Uber, to be honest with you. But yeah, we have a select number of issues at Manifest Comics. I did a signing this past weekend.
Nice.
Thank you. And it was so much fun. It was a little bit different. I gotta say, it was a little bit of a different feel than like signing at conventions.
Go on, because I've literally never done a signing in my life. I'm always like, I'm gonna sit there with my table and like no one's gonna show up, and I'm gonna be really sad.
Yeah, and traffic kind of ebbed and flowed. Sometimes it was kind of low, and then sometimes
store,
you get a little rush.
So you expect it.
Exactly. And I didn't think of that. So I was like expecting the convention feel a little bit, but like maybe only a couple hours out of the day, and they weren't hours that were together. We're like popping off. So it was like pop off, dead, then pop off. So like, you know, the flow of a small retail shop, you know. With that, oh my gosh, where was I going with that? Oh, with that said, very, very different vibe than like signing at conventions.
Yeah.
Because conventions, there's always somebody walking by the table that you can like give a compliment to or like get interested in your book. Exactly. Which is like how I've actually ended up making like friends in this industry, is just being like, yo, Charizard, get over here. That's so cool.
I like how you said, Charizard, come here.
Have you seen someone in a Charizard costume?
I have.
Oh my god, that's wild.
Oh my gosh, one of our favorite connects was our buddy Ifran. He was walking by dressed as Ash Ketchum, and I didn't know Ifran at the time, but he's like a manga reviewer, and he has a big following on TikTok. He's got like a whole room that like every wall is a manga library. I feel like when I look at his room, I feel like Belle and Beauty and the Beast, just like
you need the rolling ladder.
But it's all manga, and it's like I'm a weeb. This is great. But yeah, anyway, we met him. He was dressed as Ash Ketchum, and he was walking by the table. And I was like, Ash, meet Ash. And we had our big banner of our character.
Oh, that's such a good connection right there.
Yeah. He ended up loving the book, and he's been like such a huge advocate for it now. So like, you never know who you're gonna meet in store.
I tell that to people all the time. Like I was just telling that in a convention because somebody pulled me over, and I'm like, okay, talk to me, give me what you got, because you know most times I will walk by the table, nobody says nothing to me.
Yeah, usually people like face down in their sketchbooks, just like ignoring everyone. Like if that's what you're doing the con wrong. Unless it's like a truly dead con, but then you go and you bug other artists at that point.
or if you're like in a panel where people are expecting you to like draw something, you know. I feel like that's the time to do it. Like,
oh my god, imagine being at a panel and having to draw in front of people and like the performance anxiety. Oh my goodness.
It couldn't be me.
Dude, the guys that can draw at the same time that they're doing their live shows always bugs me out.
I can do that, but I think it's different when you have like a big like canvas or something, and you're like and you're in front of an audience. And my thing is like I wouldn't know what to draw. I would completely blank out. But if I figured it out, I think I could do it. But it's just a matter of just like the fear of the blank page.
Yeah, I would probably break out my panels and be like, "Listen, I'm making the book right now."
Tate says you can't draw with people watching you either.
Yeah.
I kind of like I went to I didn't go to school with art nerds, but I had art nerd friends who went to LaGuardia, and I didn't get to go to LaGuardia. But like, you know, when we hung out, we would just be like sitting there and drawing the whole time and talking. So like I've gotten used to that since like a young age of just like talking and drawing at the same time.
What year were you in LaGuardia?
Oh, I wasn't in LaGuardia.
Oh, okay. I was like, are we also neighbors?
No, I went to Bronx Science instead of LaGuardia, which was a very bad move. I should have just went to LaGuardia.
No, Bronx Science is dope too.
No, it is not. Don't ever say that.
I've taught there, so it's fun to teach there.
Yeah, as a student, not so much. Especially as a student who wanted to pursue art that got pressured to going to Bronx Science.
The sciences, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I get people were chasing me to go up there and go, come on, go take the exam. No.
Oh my god, commuting from Brooklyn to Bronx Science would just... I had a friend that commuted from Canarsie like every day to Bronx Science. That was like, not only was it a bunch of trains, but she also had to take this weird like shuttle van bus or whatever from her house just to get to the train station. Like, I don't know how she did that for 4 years. Like, I had a 15-minute bus ride and I was like, this is too much.
That's insane.
Japan says I do sketches for people. Their eyes don't leave me.
That's because he takes their eyes and he puts them in his backpack. I can say that because I know him in person.
Nice.
And because I know he does that in person.
That's a niche medium. That's a very niche medium. Eyeball art.
No, with real goop.
That and hands. That's why people go, oh, the AI can't make hands. Well, that makes sense because artists can't make hands.
No, oh my god. I think until like I was 25, I still did the like, this character has their hands in their pockets or behind their back.
I'm gonna grab this real quick. I'm gonna disappear, but I'll be right back.
All right.
I literally have this.
It's magic.
I literally have this.
Ooh, drawing hands. I know
is
this
that
book.
the Bern Hogarth book?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
I
I
know
have
this
that
book.
too, but it's a different color.
Gotcha.
It's a different edition, but the same guy.
I highly recommend this if you want to overthrow AI one day.
All it takes is that one book. I love that
One
book.
book.
I have all of the Bern Hogarth books. I have like the human head one, I have the anatomy one, and the hands one.
Yeah, I grew up drawing with those books, and that's why I never even imagined I would become like a digital artist in any way, because I just loved kind of learning from him with like pencils and charcoals. And it's weird to now be in this space, but
What do you prefer if you weren't doing comics and you had to just do something for funsies? What do you prefer?
I would probably be still doing comics, but more like that, more like Hogarth style, like
Like traditional like pencils and stuff. Oh man, yeah.
Da Vinci style, like old master techniques, but all done with like pencils and charcoals. That's where I started. That's kind of where my brain lives a little bit, and that helped me though. That helped me so much when switching over to digital, because like those techniques don't go away, and they just become your foundation for like doing it on a tablet.
Yep. Oh, is that an XP pen?
It is, yeah. That's what I use.
Yes. XP Pen Unite.
XP Pen Unite!
Yep. We got the same chair, we got the same tablet. Like great minds think alike.
It's in the same course.
Same course, yeah.
All right, so if you guys were talking to a kid who's starting off and doing this stuff, what's the advice? Especially when it comes to doing things digitally. Go for it.
Oh man, doing things digitally, that I don't super duper have advice, but I would definitely hand them the Bern Hogarth books and be like, study these, get good at the basics, which I know everyone hates to hear because they're just like, yeah, but how do I actually draw? But it's like, you get the basics down, and then like once you know the basics, you can do whatever you want. Like, at that point, drawing on a tablet and using Photoshop or like CSP or whatever, it's just like, it's a matter of just figuring out what brushes work for you at that point. Yeah. Because a lot of the default tools are just like terabad.
That's true. I would say start on pencil and paper.
Yep.
Get your foundations done, like get your human proportions down, like anatomy. Like study the 7 heads or 8 heads rule, whatever school of thought you go with. Go with one of them. It doesn't really matter. Pick one. Pick what number you like best.
It doesn't really matter because I've tried the 10 heads, I've tried 9 heads, I've tried 7 heads. I'm like, none of these super duper look right, so I'm just gonna freestyle it and hope for the best. And I got it right eventually.
Yeah, your eye picks it up eventually. And then I would study value and shapes. Like I didn't understand what I was doing when I was doing the Hogarth books when I was a kid, but I got really good at it because it naturally makes you good at values. I think because you're in black and white, and I had because I never took like traditional art classes or anything like that. I really just had those books and like the Kubert book of like Marvel characters, stick figuring, pipe figuring,
plastics. Yeah.
Like the Kubert school Marvel, like how to draw Marvel superheroes.
Did you get how to draw the Marvel way?
How to draw the Marvel way? I think I have that one.
Because that's one of those books that everybody gets.
Yeah. I don't have it.
It was
I
like
never went the Marvel way.
I think it was the precursor to that book. It was like a spiral bound version with like a.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like a foil stamp cover, and it came with a Ziploc bag of pens of like markers. And like, you never really use those markers.
No.
You just use the pencil.
It always puts me out because they give you like I'm not even an artist, and they give you these things that you sit there going, I'm not an artist, but I know I can't use this, so I can't even imagine an artist trying to do something with this.
So I would say that like get your anatomy down, like your basic human anatomy, get value down, lighting down, and value and lighting, they're kind of interchangeable. And then shapes, just start to look at the world in shapes because there's shapes everywhere. Like everything that exists, you can draw if you break it down to its most basic shape. Once you have those foundations down, moving to digital will be like butter. Like butter.
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 So somebody wants to buy an iPad or something. What should be their first one? That's a good question.
XP pen.
Yeah, honestly, I like the XP pen better for a lot of reasons. Like, first of all, it's cheap. I got a 22-inch tablet for like $400.
We have the same. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, we're artists. We got to save money, right? Like, we're not making a whole lot, so we got to try to do it on the cheap. So the cool thing about the 22-inch tablet, it was like $400. Then I have my like regular computer monitor on top of that, so it's like you get two screens, which is good because what I like to do with my digital art is that I have like the navigator on my other screen. You know, the navigator screen where you see a zoomed out version of the entire piece you're working on?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I can't work like super duper zoomed in all the time because then I just don't know what I'm doing. Like, and then when you zoom out, it looks wrong. So you always have to have a thing where you see the entire piece as you're working on it. And also you don't get lost in like the super pointless little details that you're like, you're just doing that and then it doesn't show up on the navigator anyway. And you're like, oh, I just spent like 2 hours on nothing. So
on that one pixel.
yeah, it's always handy to have that extra screen because then also, you know, if you're doing a character design piece or whatever, you keep your proportions in check all the time because you're always looking at the whole thing. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the quote unquote portable drawing stuff like iPads or like I have a Microsoft Surface. I've had one since like 2019 and I barely use it. Like I only use it, let's say if I'm traveling, which isn't that much because I don't travel that much, but then like I don't even use it for drawing. I'll use it for, let's say, like flatting and then like shading.
That makes sense. Those are the things you can kind of do on the go anyway.
Yeah, it's something that you don't need to be like really precise. Like inking on that thing is terrible because there's like if you move the pen too fast, then you just get this like weird janky line and it's like a whole thing. And I know people are like, oh my god, but the iPad with Procreate, it's such an experience. Like I don't need that experience. I don't.
I'll say this. Procreate's nice. It's really fine-tuned. It's super user-friendly. But if you know Photoshop, if you learn Photoshop, Photoshop kind of like inherently teaches you everything Adobe. So if you want to like edit films one day, if you want to like use Illustrator, if you want to use After Effects and do like CGI, Photoshop sort of inherently teaches you all of that, like how those programs work. Photoshop also teaches you how Procreate works. Like I was able to pick up Procreate during the pandemic, and actually that version of Ash and Nicodemus that's up on the Kickstarter and like the character profiles, I drew those in Procreate when I was like in lockdown because like there was an iPad available, and I just picked it up and I've never used Procreate before, but I was able to do it because I knew how to use Photoshop. So while Procreate is like the flashy, cool new thing that like everyone wants to learn, it doesn't really teach you anything to learn it. Yeah, those right there. Those were originally drawn in Procreate. I ended up touching them up and making them better in Photoshop, giving them like better lighting. Because the lighting, when you export from Procreate to other drawing programs, the glow or the ambient light doesn't transfer very well. So I ended up having to kind of redo that anyway. But yeah, Procreate's great. I think Photoshop's better just because it teaches you so much more. You could literally pick up any drawing program and know how to use it after Photoshop.
I was gonna say I still think Clip Studio is superior, but I learned to use Clip Studio because I knew Photoshop.
Exactly.
Like,
same. Yeah.
Yeah, I started.
The point, yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I started using Photoshop probably like I don't know, like almost 20 years ago, and then it was like when I found out Clip Studio was a thing, I liked it better. The tools worked better. I got the pro version so I can organize all my comic pages in one file, which is it's so handy. It's such a good quality of life thing to have. So I was just like, all right, I'm actually like I always say Clip Studio is the only program I have that like I actually paid real money for.
Yeah. It's not a subscription. It's not $12 on an iPad.
Yeah, I mean, I paid like $80 when it was on sale, and like I have no regrets. And also, I think it allows like multiple licenses, so I can use it on my computer, and also I could install it on my Microsoft Surface because it gives you like an extra license key for another computer.
Okay.
So it's like, this is perfect. I love it. I'm never using any other program. And then they threatened to make Clip Studio subscription based, and like I think that was last year or the year before, and people were just completely outraged.
Yeah. Yeah, Clip Studio also had a thing like when this like generative imaging wave started to happen a year or two ago.
Yep.
Clip Studio was like futzing around with the idea, like maybe they implement some of that. And then because of like all of our voices, they were like, never mind. And they put out
I mean, that's the cool thing. They listen to their user base, unlike Adobe, where they're just like, anything that you use that you save on the cloud, we're going to use it to train our AI. And like Adobe, you're already like, charging people like $50 a month for your software. Now you're like stealing their work and, putting it into the art blender. They're so morally bankrupt. I can't support them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
we got your money, we got your stuff.
And we're gonna make more with it. Yeah.
We're gonna make you obsolete based on your own work.
See, Tate says Adobe's so horrible today.
Tate knows what's up. Yeah.
There have been multiple, because I've used Adobe for years, also as a filmmaker. I finally made the switch to DaVinci at the top of the pandemic, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I've never looked back. Never
Did
used.
you use Premiere, or did they have something else? I haven't kept up with Adobe in a while.
I used Premiere Pro for probably 10 years, and then like it just everything Adobe has. That's my thing. Adobe makes really strong programs. They all crash all the time.
Yep, I had so many problems with Premiere where it'd be like rendering. Oh, nope, crash. We lost all of your stuff. You're gonna have to like work for another 2 hours. Oh, good for them. I hope that they hemorrhaged lots of money.
Yeah, like get it done, guys. Sue the heck out of them.
I don't know. When I started editing, we ended up with Vegas Pro, and it's an interesting little program with but once you know it, and then you can mess around with it. And I feel like I'm always learning something from it. But I didn't go with Adobe. I was like, hey, Vegas Pro, let's try that.
Yeah.
Anytime you can find an Adobe alternative, it's always just the icing on the cake. Like, I learned from you, Adobe, but I don't need you anymore.
And then to find out, a lot of people in like the TV side of Hollywood, they're still using Avid, and it's like,
oh, that is a name I have not heard in a while.
Avid's kind of a dinosaur, but it was like the industry standard for a while.
Wasn't Final Cut Pro also the industry standard? Yeah, I learned in school on like a Final Cut Pro, and then I was like, I will never have a Mac. Like, why am I doing this? Because it's only on Mac.
Yeah.
So it's like I went to Premiere after I stopped schooling.
So
the government.
Wow.
But I mean that could
okay then.
That could go one of two ways. I mean, the government could be doing it, as in they're making a grand show of doing nothing like they usually do, or they could actually be doing it, which means they might actually win. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a toss up.
That'll be a cool thing to kind of keep an eye on. I'm interested to see, because this is one of, I think, many things that are going to start to happen with the advent of this generative imaging. I almost hate calling it AI, because it's not even real AI like how we think about it in sci-fi.
There's nothing intelligent about it.
It's not. It really isn't. And it's like it's generative imaging. It's not art. It's generating sorry, I know language. it's generating stuff from stuff that already exists. It's not. You're absolutely right.
It's a chop shop for art.
Yeah, it's a hack. It's a hack shop, for sure. So I prefer to call it generative imaging, because that's what
I love it. Also, the acronym for that would be GI, which is like, gastrointestinal, which that checks.
I don't know. This makes me feel funny.
It's giving me the rumblies, guys. Exactly. I don't know.
Bubble guts. Give me the bubble guts.
My God, my coffee went up my nose. Oh, that was unpleasant.
Oh my God.
The coffee burn.
The coffee will make it high. Come on.
Yeah, right.
That's what my brain just wanted to taste, I guess.
Exactly.
But
Shade is saying that Adobe gets sued by FTC for roofing customers with hidden fees.
Pretty much. They should.
That sounds like peak Adobe
and then
behavior.
Puts the link right there.
Oh, thank you for the link. Thank you. Yeah, for years I found out my Adobe subscription was actually being charged like double and triple a month. And it took me like a year of like fighting it to finally get reimbursed for like the other part, like for the half that I was paying extra. It took like a year of fighting. That stuff sucks. But anyway, back to the generative imaging thing. Like this is the first of many that's kind of I think it's gonna set the tone for how corporations and like laws come together around this topic, because it is a wild west right now still.
Yep.
And like things like Kickstarter are starting to become, put a flag in the sand and say, this is our stance. Like you have to say if this involves AI art, which is cool to see. So I'm just curious to watch what the result of this is, because I feel like this is going to kind of set the tone of things to come.
Yeah, because we don't yet have laws or regulations to deal with any of this. And I think a lot of, lawmakers are just like, oh, well, let's just wait and see how it's being used. And then, and it's about whose side are they on? Are they on the side of corporate profits, or are they on the side of like real actual human beings? And
which is what I was about to say. I think it's just funny that all of a sudden what's getting AI is art and all this other stuff. That
I want AI to do my laundry. I want AI to clean my bathroom and like make me cookies while I do all the fun stuff. Like, why is AI not doing that for me?
That's what I want to know, man. I'm like, but that's because all the man wants you to be working. They don't want you to be doing art and stuff.
They don't want you creating from your soul. Are you kidding?
Soul? No, you're not supposed to have that. The corporation's supposed to own that.
That's funny because that's like an undertone of what Ashes of Eden is about. It's like, when Ash and Eden finally come together, some of the truths that they're peeling back about this world that they're in is finding, I guess, the powers that should not be, who's kind of pulling the strings behind all these things that like want people busy and not paying attention. Even in a post-apocalypse when like the world's been reset. That's sort of the theme we're playing with here, is like, who are those entities on the other side of that that hamster wheel, I guess. That's a good way.
I feel like, that's so with the times right now in terms of just scrutinizing like the people who are in charge who probably shouldn't be in charge, and like it's relevant. And I love that I'm seeing that in a lot of like indie comics and stuff that are coming out, because we're just here kind of like speaking our own little truths in like these fantasy worlds.
Yeah.
So no one can actually accuse you of being like, oh, anti this or anti that. It's like, dude, it's just a story, just enjoy the story. Yeah.
That's why it bugs me out when somebody's always like, all this message and stuff wasn't in it before.
Oh
no, it was in it before. It's just that it was well done before. Right. Now they put it in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I'm here for a good message, but when it's like, the writer is actively like pointing in your face like, no, this is bad. Like,
yeah, and I forget who I heard say it, and I think it was somebody who was either part of Disney or part of Pixar. Like back in the 80s and 90s, they were like, well, the messaging, we always had it there, but it wasn't like our first agenda.
Exactly.
Our first rule of thumb was always like good character.
Good story.
Good character, tell a story, and then you kind of just like, dude, you kind of dot in your little point of view here and there, and just like, leave that in. And
right.
But always tell a good story first.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to be educated. People want to be entertained.
Right. And when we can, and like art answers are smarter than corporations give them credit for.
All the time. Yeah.
Because like you can smell that a mile away. Like when someone's trying to like heavily handed be like, this is what's right. You have to have tact, not ham fisting. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well said.
That is well said.
Like when the messaging is part of the character development and the character's journey, it almost becomes like it's innate to the story then. And it's like the character learns it, so you kind of get to experience that with them, instead of just having it rammed down your throat, you know?
Because it's two different styles of writing, and I don't think people understand that. And it's two different styles of writing. If you start with the message, then your story is going to be about the message.
Yeah.
You know, if you start with the characters and the journey or the hero's journey, then you do the hero's journey and you learn something, because in that hero's journey you see the message.
Yeah.
But it's not the important thing. It's not what you start with, because if you start with the message, then you can't get away from it. That's exactly what the story's about.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, then people are like, oh, well, if you do that, then you don't really care about the message. You don't care about the cause. But it's like, I can care about the cause, but I could still be a good writer.
Exactly.
You don't have to sacrifice.
You can be both.
I think so.
We talk about it on the show a lot, and I hate the fact that as soon as I hate something, it's like, oh, you are a racist. Oh,
you just hated it because
Oh.
there's women in there. It's like, no, I hated it because there was badly written women in
Exactly.
there.
Okay.
Bad writing.
Since we're on the topic, the Acolyte. I actually am having a lot of fun with this show. Like, I'm super excited for tomorrow when the next episode pops out. But I can also be critical of it because, like, I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. I'm not a casual Star Wars fan. Like, you can't see on that wall, but that's a whole Star Wars shrine over there. Yeah, like, love Star Wars. Love that we're getting new Star Wars. Even if it's Disney Star Wars. Who cares? We're getting new Star Wars. And so far, loving this show so much. I don't really understand what all the hate's about, except for maybe some of the goofy press it's getting. Like when the actors are flubbing up Star Wars facts real bad on camera. And I'm like, okay.
That's the same thing as,
No, they're not real fans of the
exactly.
show.
Right.
If we don't talk about it, it's like
a paycheck. Leave them
cosplayer.
alone.
Exactly, the cosplayer was playing a character, and then people get upset. Well, she didn't even know who Deadpool was, and I'm she's just
Dude, I used to get that all the time at cons because I play a lot of games. Like, I'd have, like, my little, like, Dark Souls fan art and whatever, and, like, I'd have an entire 10-minute conversation with a customer right there about Dark Souls and whatever, and then, after that he'd be like, you play Dark Souls?
Who doesn't?
Like, get good, man. What the hell?
Right. Get good.
Get good. Yeah. It's like sometimes people just have a hard time believing that, like, oh, I'm a true fan of this because, I don't look like them or whatever.
Right. No.
Whole other rant for, like, another 5 hours at a different day.
It's like we talked about last week, like people being so gatekeepy about metal.
Yeah.
Like, I love metal. I grew up loving, like, heavy music, metal, hardcore. Even, it drifted into pop punk, I'll be honest. But still, love metal. Love me some Amon Amarth. Love me some Behemoth. But I don't look like it. I'm still going to enjoy it. Like, I don't, you might not look like a Dark Souls fan, but what does that look like?
What this
like?
is what a Dark Souls fan looks
moody
like.
and angry.
And, of course, white and male, I guess.
Darkstalkers!
Oh my god, yeah, I grew up on Darkstalkers. I love Darkstalkers.
Big Capcom fan here. Well, at least for their IP.
Yeah, Darkstalkers, like, on a random tangent, it was so innovative because, like, the characters were gimmicky, all of their moves were gimmicky,
But that's what the fun of it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Capcom does well when it's
like
gimmicky.
A masterclass in character design and designing, like, what a character's moveset is all about. Like, all right, she has wings, she's gonna hit you with the wings. Like, oh, sure, why not?
That's awesome. Yeah. Amazing. Like, that's also a master class in just, like, character design. Like, I love me some Darkstalkers and what they did with that.
Oh my god, I used to even watch the cartoon that was out in the 90s, and, like, it was so
It didn't
bad.
last that long, right?
It didn't last that long. It definitely didn't age well, but I was so into Darkstalkers that, like, that was my jam.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because every once in a while I'll go back and watch something, and I was watching G.I. Joe and Transformers, and I was sitting there going, what the
Oh my god, the Transformers from, like, the 80s and 90s was just like an animated toy catalog. Like, you didn't even know, like, there was all of these characters coming in, there was no explanation.
Exactly.
But, like, you could just imagine they're just like, just buy the toy, he looks cool, he turns into a race car. Like, all right, cool.
It was the most fun toy commercial ever made.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's not that it's bad stories either. It's just that you sit there going, I thought this looked better. I thought this was better. I thought.
You know what? always talk about this, but I appreciated how sassy Optimus Prime was in
Yeah.
that show. He was sassy and he was witty, and he lost so much of that. And then he's just like, oh, I'm such a noble, good guy. But you can be
Right.
a noble, good guy and still like sass the hell out of someone.
Exactly.
Like I'll never forget where there's like an episode where there's like a locked door or something. Optimus Prime is just like, I have a delicate lock picking technique, and he just shoots the door open. Like the show is so unhinged.
It was that dry humor.
Yes. Like such sass. Loved it.
That's what the fun of it was. That was the fun of both G.I. Joe and Transformers, was that it was this show that really didn't take itself seriously.
Right.
I feel like cartoons take themselves so seriously now, and you sit there going, God dang, man, relax a little bit.
Yeah, and not in the right way either.
No, not at all.
Like you guys, I'm sure you guys remember the follow-up to Transformers Beast Wars, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Dark and heavy some of those stories were.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
We got
the writing was good, but like I can't get past like everybody had to have their like transformation sequence, and it's like blah blah blah, like maximize, blah blah blah, maximize, and it went on for like 10 minutes, and you're like, I can't believe I just sat through all of this.
It was picking up the magical girl animation budget.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, and it was like it was just so grating. It was so grating.
The animation does not hold up, but those stories were fun as hell. Oh my gosh, like they don't take it that took itself serious in the right way.
Exactly.
It was
the writing was amazing. Yeah.
I think so.
It's like, we're having fun, but here's a story. Now it's like, here's a story, and it's dark and gritty.
Yeah.
Here's a story and a bottle of Xanax. Good luck.
Exactly. Because you're going to need it after this.
Yeah, that's I don't know if you guys are big Masters of Universe fans at all. Okay.
The original He-Man?
The original He-Man.
Okay.
Even watched the terrible movie.
Yeah, the terrible movie. The new ones that Kevin Smith did over the last couple of years, like over the pandemic, I think they're on Netflix. He did 2 seasons.
Yes, I remember
A lot
that.
of people were pissed off about it.
I actually haven't heard any negative backlash. I actually enjoyed it a lot.
I enjoyed it too.
I'm curious to hear.
I'm telling you exactly what I'm hearing.
Okay.
You know why they didn't enjoy it was because it wasn't like about He-Man per se, because like he died. But
That
then
was the argument. All of them were like, "This is not He-Man. This is
this is She-Man," or whatever
Exactly.
they were saying. But you know the funny thing is they kind of did like a screw you to the people who were complaining. I think in the last episode when He-Man comes back and like Skeletor is like, it was always supposed to be He-Man versus Skeletor, and He-Man just like, shut up, and he just like ends Skeletor right there. I was like, that had to be for like aimed at
last show.
right. It's like aimed at a very specific demographic right there. Like they called them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a fun show. I enjoyed it.
I liked it. And Mark Hamill is just perfection in that role. Like you couldn't have picked a better voice actor for that.
Absolutely.
Mark Hamill's the man.
Also, like as a little kid, I wanted to be Skeletor when I grew up.
Oh, Skeletor is the
I was going to say, Matta, you got a pretty good Skeletor voice.
Overlord of Evil.
My favorite one ever is like I was watching some random He-Man episode, like the old one, and he just pops off with like the craziest stuff. And one time I'm like drawing or writing, and I have it playing in the background, and Skeletor pops off with like, "I can write a book about what you don't know."
Yeah, Skeletor has those lines, man. See, but that's where the memes come from.
Yes. Yep.
Then he runs off.
Like he says something completely disturbing and then just runs off.
And that was the most beautiful way to call somebody stupid I've ever heard, and I stole that. So like I borrowed that from Skeletor. Like, I can write a book about what you don't know. You can't get better than that. That's the goofy stuff.
That was like the 80s sass.
Yeah.
80s, 90s sass. I loved it. I lived for it.
Between
Probably why I am the way I am now.
Skeletor and Starscream and Cobra Commander.
Yeah, Starscream was also my homie. Like, I don't know why. I latched onto the sassy villains and grew up to be one, I guess.
There you go.
Those are the fun guys, the sassy guys, the mischief makers.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes, I love that type of
I
villain.
gotta say, I'm the same way, because my favorite characters to write are mischief makers, mischievous gods. Somebody who's not down the line. They're doing their own thing, but sometimes it kind of lines up with the good stuff.
Yeah, and they don't even have to be like the most powerful character, but they just
Yeah.
have such good chaos energy and just like such good lines that they're just unforgettable.
Like a good, hard, chaotic neutral is
Exactly.
a fun character
Absolutely.
every time.
I live for it.
Me too. That's kind of my approach with the main character of Ashes of Eden. One of the main characters, Ash. He starts off as kind of this scrappy, like illegal archaeologist because he's not sanctioned with like the rest of like we the Terra Divers of the Keepers Guild. So he's not part of the guild. He's not actually allowed to like go digging. But he and his adopted dad like kind of pull heists and do it anyway. And eventually you see that he has a heart of gold, but he doesn't really care about those rules so much, even though he wants to be a part of that world. There's something else that pulls at him. And that's kind of built into his color scheme too. Like I'm so interested and like curious about the gray hero. So that's why he wears like gray armor. It's sort of the old trope of like Westerns. The good cowboy would wear a white hat and the bad cowboy would wear a black hat. And like there's this visual component of like
when things were simple.
Oh, yeah. But it's not that simple. Like
No, it's not.
We all have this like goodness in us, but we're thrown into a society that makes us think about, okay, the things we're being told are good. Sometimes aren't good for us.
No.
Sometimes like really hurt us. So
I
like,
vibe with that. Sacrimony also revolves a lot about that.
I was about to
So
say
like
the same
we are
thing.
kindred spirits.
I love that. Okay. How do you play with that theme, if I can ask?
I mean, it's sort of the same thing where like the main character Kajad, she's like a teenage girl with no memory of her past, and she looks a certain way because she has like these demon wings that she has to hide, and like she doesn't know why she has to hide them yet, but like she starts to figure out that like people who see someone who looks like her, like they're automatically going to assume she's a bad person.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of things going around her that she's learning about the world where it's like everyone's like, no, this is good. This one particular god is good, but like would totally kill someone who looks like you. And she's just like, if that god is good, why would they kill me? Like I'm not a bad person. So, coming to terms with that. And it's just like there's a lot of people being like put into jobs and roles that they're not exactly qualified for because like the rules around them don't entirely vibe with they're like it's kind of like good people being put into these good roles, but like at the same time when they learn how things are and like bureaucratic red tape and all those things, or it's like even becoming a god. Like there was a character who became a god and like he wasn't happy with it because it's like once he learns how everything works and like what he fought for as a mortal, he just kind of shuts down.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm about that. I'm all about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that because I mean I grew up like in that sort of environment also, like being a kid of immigrants and then my parents having a certain point of view about like, oh, these people are bad, don't talk to these people, don't do that, don't talk to that. And I'm just like, but these are my friends, like there's nothing bad about these people. So the things that you're hearing like conflicts with the things that and the things that you find out, and like I had to put that in the story.
That's so funny though, because that's what happened when all of a sudden D&D they were like, oh, you guys can't do that. Those guys can't be completely bad, or those guys can't. And I'm sitting there going, but they were never completely bad. Anybody playing the game,
according to those rules was a racist.
Exactly. you were
if you're
the
like
game.
Like I'm an orc.
We played all the bad races, and we had them in the game, and they were good guys. And you sit there going, so who the hell is playing it the other way?
Yeah, like if someone says like, oh, this is an orc, and they're like modeled after like tribal societies, by the way, they have -1 intelligence, I'm gonna be angry.
Hey, what's up, Tui? How's it going? Tui is our executive producer and assistant creative director at ArcPunk.
Nice.
Oh, look at that.
Thanks for joining us, man. Yeah, it's like if you're like hating on the dark elves when you're playing a campaign, like you're definitely a dark elfist.
See, but that also bothers me because one of the greatest heroes is a dark
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was saying when all that stuff happened and they were trying to change the game to and make it better, I'm sitting there going, wait, why do we have to change the rules? Who's using these
Yeah,
characters?
who was going by that to begin with? Who was saying like, no, you have to play this race like this way because they're inherently evil? Like me and my friends, we never really bothered with the alignment chart because
No.
it's like there's no way to rigidly stick to that. Like you wouldn't even be playing a human being anymore. You would just be playing like a robot making
Caricature
a,
of a human being.
you'd be playing a cardboard cutout
Exactly.
of something. So like we had long through out the alignment chart and all of that, and we're just like, you know what, we're just gonna react to however the situation calls.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like part of it was like to force you to act a certain way.
I guess because then there are those people who like, I'm gonna play a paladin of Tyr, but also like I kill and loot all of the bodies. Like,
Exactly.
no, Tyr was not.
You're the good guy, man.
Your paladin code is real weird.
That's the same thing as when we would play Star Wars, and you were the Jedis,
Yeah.
and then you had this like really thin line of how you could play it. I'm like, no. And then when it's funny because when the gray Jedi started to show up, I was like,
That was
Playing
like
that before it was popular.
exactly.
that was my favorite because like the gray Jedi are like actual Buddhists. They're like actually doing it right, walking the middle path, and like that's always been so fascinating and interesting to me. Like even in my own spiritual walk with like discovering Buddhism and like other things and other cultures, belief systems and schools of thought, Stoicism. Like Stoicism is almost exactly like the way of the gray Jedi. And it's so fascinating to me because it acknowledges both, that we all have both capabilities within us. And it's like giving space to both and honoring that you have both within you, instead of like hiding one away and like favoring the other. And like that's true out of balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and no one exists like that. And if they do, they're absolutely fake and lying.
And I'm scared of that. I do not. I'm cautious and worried about that person.
As you should be. Like, what exactly are you hiding? Because something here doesn't add up.
What are you up to? What are you doing?
How many demons you got in that head of yours?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. People are just, I feel like they need to put labels on everything so they can understand it, that they don't understand it at all.
Because they don't want to think. They just need to know who to like and who to hate, and like that's it.
Right. And that's a slippery slope, and that can only get you so far, like gauging things that way. Like the gray character is so much more interesting to me because they have that vantage point of being able to see the good and the bad on both societal spectrums.
Especially with Star Wars, because if the whole issue and the whole issue for the whole story has been that there has to be a balance between the Sith and the Jedi,
right?
And at any point in the history of Star Wars, you either have the Sith or you have the Jedi, so they're off balance. They're not balanced.
Yeah, that's why. That's one of the things like I was really excited for. I know a lot of people hated on The Last Jedi, but there was this moment. Bear with me because I know I'm going to say a lot of hot takes on Star Wars tonight. I guess.
Excellent.
I guess that's my job.
It's that kind of night.
But I loved The Last Jedi up until the moment of there's this really cool moment in like Snoke's throne room or whatever, where like the Praetorian guards come out, and there was some weird choppy editing that we all like to laugh at today. I get it, like swords disappearing and reappearing, whatever. But like that horrible editing aside, there was this really cool moment where like Ben and Rey finally come together and do the Obi-Wan Mace Windu like back to back, like getting ready to like team up and fight everybody. And at that moment, I was probably the only one in the theater that did this. I stood up and I clapped and cursed and like celebrated that moment because I was like, they're doing it. I thought they were gonna make Rey a gray Jedi, and I was like, oh man, that would be so perfect. They're like both on the light side and both on the dark side, and they're gonna find the truth if they go that route. But like, obviously the studio wasn't thinking about it esoterically like that, because it didn't go that way. So I sat right back down.
Aw, yeah. It seems like you put more thought into it than the
Yeah.
studio did.
I
Which
might.
I hate when that happens.
It's the same thing with me with Ahsoka. You know, my favorite line from Ahsoka is "I'm no Jedi,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah. Everybody else is like, how can she say that? I'm like, no,
How dare
no
she?
Jedi, man.
Right.
Oh, let's see what's going on over here. It's with people with no imagination. Disney's scared.
Yeah.
And then Palpatine came back.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
I'm kind of okay with The Last Jedi. I'm kind of okay with The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's the fixing that they try to do
That
in that last movie that kind of bothers the hell out of me, because they left you like,
It's like putting a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound.
Exactly.
There was no plot in that. Like, can we all agree there was no plot in that movie?
That's because
I don't even remember what I saw. It was just like
exactly. That's because JJ was trying to fix what the other guy did, because nobody liked it, and he's trying to fix it, but you can't fix what he messed up.
Right. And then, like, there really wasn't too much to fix if you just like kept telling a story. You could have just given us a good story again, instead of
it seems like it would have been less effort to give an actual good story than it would be to have tried to patch up whatever they were trying to patch up.
The theory is that when Disney went to do these 3 movies, they didn't have a story.
No, obviously.
Right. They just had some stuff they were going to try to do. And you can tell by the way, like if you look at the first movie with JJ, it's a whole different movie than the second movie. The second movie is nothing from the first movie, because he gets rid of all the story points from the first movie.
Yep.
And then the second movie, it's its own thing. It's a whole. I feel like if you wouldn't have had the first movie, that would have been a direct sequel to the rest of it, if you wanted to do that. Then what happens with the third one is Jay brings JJ back, and now they're like, well, we need to go back to where you were going in the first movie. But by that point, the monster's out of the cage.
Yeah, that was a missed opportunity, because like that's Star Wars number 9. Like you're supposedly your last entry in the Skywalker saga, and that was like, come on, guys.
It's like cracking a fart and leaving the room.
Exactly. And my major beef with the whole thing is the fact that they had no respect for the original story.
No.
Because they wanted to do their own thing, and I'm like, you can do your own thing. You know, all you had to do was that first episode. If you wanted to, you could have killed all 3 of them off, but just let them get together, do a battle, a last stand or something, give them some respect, and you could have gotten rid of all 3 of them, and then gone on with your story.
For sure.
But you know what I'm saying? It's the story aspect of things, the hero's journey. You need to bring that to an end in order to continue the journey.
Exactly. It's like, and not only did they not honor what came before them, I feel like they didn't even honor what they set out to do.
Exactly.
Like that first one, Force Awakens. Yeah, sure, you can argue that it was like a revisiting of a lot of ideas and themes and concepts we've already seen in Star Wars. Sure, it's Star Wars though.
But
like,
as the storytelling idea, as a way to tell a story, they did the right thing, because you do that, and then you do
right. But they didn't even honor this new entry that they started with. Like it went nowhere. They gave us all this setup, and it literally had no payoff.
I'm still annoyed that they bring this character in, what's his face, what the heck is his name? They built him up. They built up this character. He's an ex-stormtrooper. He has force powers. And then they go, we're not going to do anything with that.
No. And like, they marketed him so hard, like even in the he's the one with the Skywalker saber.
Exactly.
It's like, I want to see what Finn does with this saber. Like he has to be he at least lasts a couple of seconds against Kylo Ren. He's got to have some kind of something going on,
I feel like they threw that completely out the window just to do the Rey story.
Yeah, and it was the whole concept of like the Force is awakening.
Yeah,
like that doesn't mean just in one person. It's like it's awakening.
But that's why that's why I thought they did that. I thought they did 2 Force people to show that the Force was awakening.
Yeah.
But then then the second movie, what it does, and that's what the problem I have with is in the second movie, it feels to me like he's like, I don't like the Force.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get rid of the Force.
This is stupid. I want to do something else.
Exactly. I don't like the Force. I'm gonna get rid of the Force. Rey's the only Force holder. We're not even gonna talk about Finn.
Yeah. Finn's in like a weird jelly suit the whole time.
Yeah.
Half the time at least. And then you get Broom Kid, who might be Force sensitive at the end. And it's like I don't know who Broom Kid is, and like maybe I have a little connection with Broom Kid because I was Broom Kid. Like I was sweeping barns and pretending my broom was a lightsaber when I was a kid. Actually,
that's a good story too, but you don't continue it. You don't bring.
That would have been a better story than whatever they were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Broom Kid spinoff. We need to start a petition.
And that was they were saying that was going to be Rian Johnson's that was going to lead off into his trilogy.
Yeah,
like Broom Kid, and
he was supposed to get his own trilogy until he did that movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of missed opportunities. I hope the new Rey movie coming out in 2 years. I hope it's awesome. I'm going to show up for it, obviously, because like I still think she has that awesome potential. Because I love Daisy Ridley as an actor. Like she's phenomenal.
I liked her character in the first movie of the new trilogy.
Yeah,
I wasn't like as critical as everybody else was, because it was the same story from A New Hope.
Yeah,
and in A New Hope, Skywalker isn't this Jedi. No. He's this guy learning things.
Yeah, he's a farm boy.
Exactly, but he has these special abilities. He's amazing. As the chosen one usually is. and that's what it's the chosen one.
Yeah. And somehow it was a problem for her to be good at the Force, like by the end of her movie.
I don't know, man.
Come on.
Then they go, oh yeah, but this and this about Skywalker. I'm like, and then I go, and then I do the sin. I go, I had never liked Luke Skywalker. I thought he was a whiny little brat. A
little bit, yeah. Han Solo was my boy. Like,
dude, Princess Leia was badass, man.
Yep.
The reason they succeeded, like, she's the reason this like goofy farm kid,
yeah, exactly,
and this like cocky hotshot pilot can actually get things done in their life is because Princess Leia organizes all of it.
Exactly. And that's what, when people were getting pissed off about the Leia story arc, I'm like, out of all the story arcs, that's the one that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, Tui was saying, are you guys excited about Star Wars Outlaws?
I've heard a little bit about it. I'm waiting to see what it is.
I have not heard anything. I'm not super duper invested in Star Wars, honestly. Like, I kind of consume it casually, and then I'm like, the most I'll say is like, all right, I enjoyed it, or like, I didn't enjoy it. So.
See, but I am not. What would you call them? Warriors. I like Star Wars.
Okay.
But I'm just a casual watcher. So it's the same thing with Star Trek. I'm not a Trekkie. Okay. I just like Star Trek.
Like I have seen the Star Space shows.
Exactly.
Like my life isn't about it.
Yeah. But Ralph, you've seen every Star Trek. You've seen every Star Wars. How can you say you're not I don't like being a fanatic of anything. I like what I like, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I think also as a creator, you only have so much headspace for like literally everything you've consumed.
Matta, you said it. That's like right on the money. I think
I got other stories to think of.
Right.
I got my own stuff.
Your stuff ends up becoming the coolest story, and I think it has to be that way because you got to believe in your stuff before anybody else will.
All Star Wars has taught me, because I've watched the fandom and get nastier and nastier. All Star Wars has taught me is that I'm right, because when I write, I just write for me. I don't give a shit who's reading. I don't care who's. People will like read something of mine and go, "Oh, you should do this and this and this." Oh, that's nice.
Like, well, how about no? Because if you start listening to all of the voices around you, then it's no longer your project. You're not going to enjoy it. Like, also, like, no two people are going to give you the same piece of advice. So someone will be like, "Oh, you need to put this in. And someone else is like, "Oh, you need to take that out." Like, the strongest writing you can do is if you just listen to yourself.
Right. Matta, I know definitely, especially after reading your work, that you have to have people who've read this stuff and said something to you.
Surprisingly, no. I wish more people would say.
Okay.
I wish more people would say things because, like, it's kind of the story that is like, engineered to have people have very strong opinions on the characters, whether like the
That's
character.
why I said that, because I read it and I'm like, okay. So people
Yeah,
must be like,
you're like the
why
only
did you
person
do
who
that?
reached out to me and like talked about it. But yeah, I mean, like, two people won't have the same opinion on the same character, also based on their own point of view and like whatever they're projecting about their own experiences. And like, I think that's fun. I would love to hear more from people about like what they thought of the characters, or like, just complaining or just whatever.
Right.
It's the kind of story that you're meant to do that. Like, I want this story to like tear apart friendships because like people can't agree what they think about the same character.
Ooh, okay, that's fun.
How about you, Jesse? Because I know what you're doing, and I know how the fandom is.
Yeah.
Have they said something to you?
So I've got a little bit of eyebrows raised because not all of my characters look alike. I guess that's the best way I can say it. And it's a kind of across the board. Like, people are like, "Why are you writing black characters? Why are you writing?
Oh, I hate
Why
when they do
not?
that. Yeah.
Why are you writing Latina or Latinx
Yeah.
characters?" And it's like, well, I look white, but I'm part Puerto Rican, so I have a vantage point on that. The other part is like my world. Like, I'm writing the world that like my world looks like. Like my people that surround me.
Exactly.
Like, I live in New York. Like, this is just what it looks like.
Yeah.
And if the world was wiped clean and starts to repopulate, like, I don't, unless we're given the knowledge to like segregate into tribalism again, I'm proposing a future where if like we're wiped clean and we start popping up again, and that's a little bit of a reveal, so I'm not going to get fully into like how humans come back.
I like how he teases.
Right. I'm not going to tease like all the way how humans kind of come back to the surface of the earth. But when they do, it's done in a way where like it's a big mixed bag. I'm trying to say this without spoiling anything. So like we're entering this story as humanity's kind of already started to resurface to this new world.
Mm-hmm.
We're like far enough advanced in like the rebuilding of civilization where there are towns and there are villages and there are like, communities again, for sure. We might not have skyscrapers and like big buildings like that, but it's anywhere from like, little quaint villages to like marketplaces. There's civilization is back at the point that we enter Ashes of Eden. But that civilization is diverse for a reason, because they kind of lost the textbook. Like, when the world was reset, they kind of lost the textbook on racism. They kind of lost the textbook on like the tribalism of like, who looks like you is safe. They've sort of like that was lost in the apocalypse in this story.
Should get lost in this apocalypse too.
What's that?
It should get lost in this apocalypse too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's sort of like me selfishly writing a world that like I would like to see come to fruition. So it's like that's how I, if I was like the great what do you call them? If I were the Greys or the tall whites or whatever aliens that are out there, like looking down on us in their silver ball and like seeing, okay, if humanity did this, and this, and this, they'd be ready for our level, right? If I was thinking with my futurist brain of like how humanity could grow to be their best selves, those are two things I think we could get rid of to get on that track, is like that tribalism and racism. I get that there's something innate about our tribalistic nature and it's kind of programmed into us. But as beings that can learn and evolve, that's something I hope we can eventually evolve away from, to where that stuff, it can be our differences are celebrated, and not in like the DEI way of like, the government cuts your company a check, right? Like actual celebration, like actually learning from each other and sharing in those differences. These humans that are resurfacing might not fully know what those differences are, and that also might be one of the things that's being used against them by the powers that be, is they are sort of stuck in a world where they are being made to all be the same. So that's sort of the dystopian part of this utopia. But yeah, we've gotten some raised eyebrows and some questions of like, why does your book open with a black character narrating the story? Are you trying to like send a message? And I'm like, no, that's just the dude that knows how everything works behind the scenes. And
any character, it just so happens that
it so happens like Nicodemus knows all the secrets that you don't know yet, and he's not going to tell you either. You got to read to find out.
It's so funny though that they take these old tropes and turn them into something else though, because it's just the wise old man trope,
right?
But you've just made the guy black.
Yeah.
But people get upset with that kind of stuff. Like, well, why did you do that?
Right.
It's the same thing with me. I tend to write female characters, strong female leads, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, you're not a woman, Ralph. Are you writing female characters? I'm like, well, I write what I see. I know I've known a lot of strong women, so I write strong women. And I don't. And then they'll be like, well, she's not like a woman. I'm like, I don't know. She's a character. She's a strong character. You have traits. That if you're a guy or a girl,
what do they mean? She's not like a woman.
Because you know exactly what.
I know, but I had to ask.
And you do. You have to ask. You have to.
No, you do. You have to.
Just to point out how ridiculous it is. Like, what exactly do you mean by not like?
Because if I took a man and made him like that, which I've done before. Then they're like, well, he's kind of feminine, isn't he? Well, he's still a man.
Yeah, I hate this stupid gender-coded behavior that people are still trying to enforce. Like, men can't be weak and vulnerable. Women can only be weak and vulnerable. Like, are you serious? This is not the 1950s anymore.
I think the more you hide that side of yourself, the weaker you are.
Yeah.
And it falls back into like the problem with the Jedi and the problem with the Sith.
It's all of it, yeah, because you come back to it. It's the balance,
right?
The yin and the yang. You need both of them.
I don't want to get too esoteric, but are you guys familiar with like the 7 principles of Hermeticism? This is a deep dive, and we're gonna, after the Kickstarter's over, we're actually gonna do a little series on like social media and in our email list for Ashes of Eden, where like we take a principle of Hermeticism, like we take each of the 7 principles and kind of point to parts of the story of Ashes of Eden of how this exemplifies each of those principles to kind of like teach, okay, Hermeticism, it's a school of thought by like the ancients, and this is like the version we have left over. So it's sort of in line thematically, because that's a lot of what Nicodemus is teaching Ash.
Right.
He's teaching Ash about like the old ways the world used to work, even before like our time period. They get back to like pre-biblical times, like before things were written down.
It's fine. We've all cursed already. You're fine. You can.
Oh
curse
yeah,
now. The seal has long been broken.
I think you're behind on the count here now.
I know. You should have the sailor mouth. I'm trying to be good.
Same, actually. It's very hard.
Right. That's my brother right there. That's Ori. He's the other writer.
That's right. You told me about that.
Yeah. It's dinner time, I guess. So we're taking each of the 7 principles of Hermeticism, kind of using Ashes of Eden to explore that, because those ideas come from like even older than some of the religions we have today. Like that, these ideas predate that. But one of the principles is gender, and I think that's so fascinating because there's such a conversation around gender and gender identity today.
Yeah.
To where it's almost become so heated that it's like a war. It's like a whole other social war.
Yep.
That people are fighting in our modern times. But like in the ancients, recognized that everything and everyone has the duality of gender within them. So like it doesn't matter if you're a man, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter if you're both or non-binary or neither.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 genders exist within, like the aspect of them. And I just think that's fascinating that the ancients knew that. And
now people are just denying it.
Right. And now it's like this, it's almost as if the very principle of gender is under attack by our society, where we're being told, to fight about it.
Yeah.
Like who's pulling the whole like that? You know,
they want us to keep fighting. They want us to keep doing. You know, they want to get to have these choices that we don't want. They want us to have, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
and every time I preach this, people go, "What are you talking about?"
If you're punching across the table, you'll never think to punch upwards.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like, don't pay attention to the man on the behind the
Fight
curtain.
amongst yourselves, children.
Exactly.
Right. So
don't pay attention.
to like my vantage point on that whole topic is like, it doesn't matter if you're approaching it from a liberal standpoint. It doesn't matter if you're approaching it from a conservative standpoint. You're all kind of being lied to about the principle of gender and what it truly means, and how that can actually help your mindset day to day. Like you have both. Use both. Don't be afraid of both. The more you try to hide one, the more you're damaging the other. And that's sort of the principle of gender in Hermeticism. So, and we're kind of playing with that with just in the depiction of Ash and Eden. Like, it's a duotagonist story. They're both the main characters. They're both the titular characters. Like, they're both literally in the title. Because I didn't want to do it where it's like called The Ashes of Eden, but then it's only about Link. You know, it's The Legend of Zelda, but you're playing as Link the whole time.
Yep.
No, this is about the two of these people coming together and understanding their connection as sort of a metaphor for all of our connection with something.
They just released the new game that's coming to the Switch.
Yep.
Where you play Zelda.
Finally. It looks really cool too.
It does. It looks really good.
I'm excited for that. I'm a big Zelda fan.
Also, shout out to everybody ever who called Link Zelda because they just didn't know any better.
Dude, the joke now is that when we're playing Zelda, people are gonna call her Link.
Yeah, we're gonna name her Link.
Nice, as you should.
That's funny.
Oh man.
But yeah. So I don't know how much about in alchemy. The goal was to become a fusion of the male and female. Yeah. So alchemy was sort of born from that Hermetic philosophy. And the ancient Hermetic sciences sort of evolved into the sciences we have. Like alchemy became the modern day chemistry, and that was sort of like what the right word to say this is without getting like a red dot between my eyes.
It doesn't matter what you say, you'll get the red dot.
Yeah, you're still gonna get it. I mean, we've already brought up the topic of gender, which apparently is
No. Just to stop the topic of Star Wars is gonna piss me off.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Talking about Star Wars is more likely to earn you that's a
exactly.
laser pointer than.
It's like I can see the guy now. Wait, you were talking about gender? We didn't see that part.
Huh?
Too busy raging about our Star Wars.
How can you like the second movie? It sucked.
I think it was one of the better ones out of that weird thing we got, whatever that was. Anyway, yeah. So like all the ancient science like schools of thought became the modern ones, sort of with like the magic taken out of them, right? So Ashes of Eden, a big part of Ashes of Eden is like trying to find that magic again that very much exists in our world, and is real in our everyday life. We're just kind of like put in a snow globe where not allowed to see that stuff, you know. So that's one of the things that they're going to be uncovering. So it's a deep dive into mythology and philosophy, hopefully peeling back some of the layers in our own lives for the readers to see the magic in the mundane of every day. That's the goal, at least.
It's a good goal. I like it. I support this.
Thank you.
I see somebody's joined us.
Frank,
hello, friend.
How you doing,
What's going on, guys?
How you holding up?
I've had better days and better moments, but you know, I've had my my lovely wife Jen, my cousins, my best friend, my friend Steve from work. I've had some really good support, so it was kind of unexpected. You know, we saw him last Saturday, and then we couldn't get a hold of him, and then, you know, I ran from work from, you know, Mom. I live in West Babylon, so, you know, any stalkers that are going to come, they're going to find me in West Babylon. So, Mom and Dad live in Hicksville, and, you know, I went over and found him passed away in his chair. You know,
my condolences.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But I mean, I've gotten some really good love from people that they don't have my personal numbers. They reach out on social media, whether Facebook or Instagram. So I've gotten a lot of love for that. I appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, I know you guys are like my con family and stuff, and I appreciate it. So, so Ralph didn't even know. So as much as he knows me, my dad had wrote a book. If you guys don't mind me taking the stage, if that's okay.
Oh,
Go for
yeah,
it.
you should take the stage. We all been taking the stage all
Yeah,
time.
we've been talking for the past like hour and a half. We're talked
Exactly.
at. It's your turn now.
Yeah, no, I always like to be courteous. You guys know that, right? So that being said, my dad had wrote a book, self-published in 1971. So going back from 1971, and he wrote a poetry book. Now, my dad wasn't like me, right? Like he inspired me to write the Dark Legend, and a lot of it was, when I first met Ralph and he was filming and everything. He got me on film with my son so many years ago, which
Long
basically
time ago now.
it was 2017, and at the time I was working in hospitality, and I guess that was 1996, and I had came home from like a 15-hour shift, and I was like, I watched Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag, which for Joe Pesci was
I
like
remember
a
that
crappy
movie.
movie. I didn't like it. I thought it was terrible. I thought he could have done better. You got Goodfellas, you got all these mafia movies, and then you go to Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag. I'm like, oh man, this is really bad. So, but my dad's like,
The
my
title
dad
is
was,
hilarious, though.
yeah,
It's
it
titled
was.
completely
It's a good title.
It kind of sets you up for what you're getting into.
Exactly.
Well,
Imagine it's
yeah.
like a documentary about birds instead, and you're just like,
Oh, that'd be funny.
not what I signed up for.
Yeah, that was a
Um,
documentary about lettuce. It's 8 heads in a duffel bag.
I see what you did there.
It's like coming home from the gym. I got to pick up groceries.
Exactly.
So, Dad, I told my dad, he was watching like some sporting event. He was a big Celtic fan and Willie Mays, and which is really avoided because he grew up with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And how do you become a Brooklyn Dodger fan and root for Willie Mays? Hey, Willie Mays was great. Don't get me wrong, but doesn't that contradict like the boundaries of like it's like rooting for the Mets and then rooting for the Yankees at the same time?
Right.
So he's like, well, why don't you write something about and do something about it? I'm like, what the hell? I never went to school for writing or anything. And he's like, well, I wrote a poetry book in 1971. You could do something with it. And my dad was very private, so he didn't like really, like how it is now. He wouldn't go to a con. I mean, that kind of stuff didn't really exist back then, right? So he didn't, he would wanted to do it for himself, right? Like little short poems and stuff like that. And he wrote it. It was very short, maybe 3-4 sentences long or something like that. But he inspired me to write it. I would have never wrote The Dark Legend of the Foreigner if it wasn't for him. He pushed me. He's like, hey, Frank, you got to do this. You got to do this. Now, my father wasn't really big on fantasy or science fiction or any of that stuff, and I wrote it. Didn't do anything with it until probably 2012, 13, 14, something like that. And he's like, and my first con was pretty much where I met Ralph. One of my good close friends, I consider a very close friend. He's helped me, put it out there. He gives me this, this platform to come on to talk about whatever con, whatever book, whatever, with everybody. He's a really good dude, just going forth and, having people promote their stuff. Hey, stop it. I see the hand, but I mean, we have a platform that he has created and able to, whether it's a book, whether it's a comic, whether it's a board game, whether it's a video game, creations. Like he's given us a great platform to, showcase our work, right?
Yeah.
Where were you in 1971? My father was very quiet. Yeah.
I was about to say your book.
I wasn't far behind, but a few. No, I mean you're a little older than me, but not by much.
No,
I
your
was
book is a little
76.
old. It's as old as me. Your father's book is as old as me.
Oh, yeah. But he inspired me to kind of push me because he always said to me, he's like, Frank, I can never do what you do. He's like, he couldn't have taken it to kind of where I've tried to take it, and tried to develop. My dad was very quiet, if you knew him, he would be very quiet, but he's the reason why I continued this. It's on the way up to a Comic Con. Hearing about whether I'm going to Fan Expo Dallas or Fan Expo Boston or Contropolis, New Jersey, or Terrificon or MegaCon, whatever. You guys get the drifts, right? And he's kind of pushed me. It's like, oh, okay, if I didn't do so hot, okay, you get him next time. You get him. He always pushed me, and I didn't even realize that until I checked my email that I have Contropolis, New Jersey, in what is it, the 13th to 14th, 12, 13, whatever.
It's coming up, yeah.
So this is going to be the first con that I'm going to be without him, right? Making that phone call, and even being a week, it's just like, your parents are your parents, whether you have a great relationship or if you don't, right? They're still mom and dad, right? They're still, whether they adopted you or whether they, gave natural birth to you, they're still your parents, right? Um, like just thinking about what my dad has meant to me and my sister, my two cousins, his wife of 53 years, how he stabilized and showed us how to be good people. We look back at our parents and sometimes we may take them for granted, which, as youngers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know, they're important to us, and how supportive they are on what we create, right? Like we are all artists in our own fashion, in our own world, whether we're a writer, comic book creator, drawer, board gamer, everything that we all strive to be and create, and that's what makes us all unique. But we all have great people that are behind us that make us continue the push, the drive, whatever we want to do, right? It doesn't matter what careers we have outside of this, this platform that we have, and doing cons and stuff like that. Um, and the support that we have, whether a wife, husband, wife, whatever, our relationships are that we all have in our life. you know we all have that support team. you know my wife, she supports me. I have my son that loves coming up to these comic cons, which Ralph has seen. you know
I've seen him since he was this small.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. He literally was on the video that Ralph first did
The
with
first
him.
time we
And then,
interviewed Frank, his son was all over the place.
oh yeah, he was like kind of looking. It was, we could still pull that up. I've
Oh,
seen
definitely.
that
I pulled it
video.
up before, so don't tempt me.
And Leslie was sitting there interviewing me, and then he's holding
Yeah.
the camera, and then it was just funny. Like his eyes were going all over. It was funny. Um, but um, it's awesome, man. Having a support system and having my my dad, you know, just be able to listen, and everything about doing certain things with a con, good or bad. He was, Frank, you doing something I could never do. Um, you know, um, you know, you're doing something I can never do. You're pushing your books. You're getting it out there. You're getting it to people that, if you got 2,000 literary no's, you know, um, you found another way of doing it. Um, you know, you know, and you got it out there, you got it into people's hands. You went there and you talked to a promoter, you did whatever you had to do. You got yourself noticed by promoters that love you now, like Fan Expo, right? That's a massive, con. We all know with New York Comic Con and certain other ones and other groups that have multiple Comic Cons. It's like I got known because of Fan Expo. Fan Expo gave me that platform, to highlight my stuff. I mean, listen, I think I got some great stuff, but how many more other Frank Destefanos are there or other people? So
Well,
I
there's the other
mean,
Destefano.
yeah. Well, I mean, my dad wrote that book in '71, and I mean, if he didn't do that, he did it for himself. But now he saw a level that I decided to do. I wrote a book. I hand wrote it. Nineteen.
Yes.
Yes, I
My
did.
goodness.
Yeah.
So
So I had like marble. The next time I meant to grab it when I was at my parents' house because I was helping out with mom today. Next time I will grab it. I wanted to show you guys, but I completely forgot. Um, so I got caught up with helping her and my sister. So um, it was, I think it was like either 5 or 6 and then 6 me no marble me black and white me notebooks I wrote it in.
Oh my
And
goodness.
composite
Yeah.
notebooks.
I remember those.
I love those.
You remember those?
Yeah, I used to. That's how I started writing my stories in like middle school too. I used to fill
Same
up
here.
those notebooks with like
Mhm.
just stories.
Did you really?
Yep,
Well,
the
I
marble
mean,
composition ones, the black and white spots. It
Yeah.
had like the
Mhm.
big white panel where you write what it's for.
yeah, right in the middle. Yep. So I used those. I used like 6 of. I think it's 6 of those. I think I don't
Dang.
remember quite, but I hand wrote it, and then I wrote it up on a gateway computer, which has basically is Perry Sorry, I got to be a little comical. You guys know my sense of humor, so
Oh, I know.
at least
I
I'm
appreciate it.
starting to get it back. Um, but my dad was my great inspiration of writing. Of course, fantasy. How I came up with a dark legend, watching Eight Heads in the Duffel Bag, I have the slightest idea. But I mean, um,
You know, and you're probably
he's
like, "Oh, this is so terrible. I need to write a good story now. I just need to go and write my own good story." And that's how
That's
this
probably what it is.
started.
It's like I could do better than that.
Like not
well,
even the
that's
same
what it is
genre, but I
because
just need to cleanse my palate and do something good.
well, that's what it was. It was. I mean, I've had some people when I've done Dallas Fan Expo, just meeting them have reached out to me, and I just met them like a month ago. So, um, so I mean, I had some people that I just met that I don't know, and they had reached out to me like from there, and I was like, I didn't expect that. So, from people with Coca Cola, from people from like you guys, you know, um, just it's been hard, but it's again, knowing that I'm keeping my dad's what my dad couldn't do now I can do, and keeping that push alive, you know. And my like everybody has said, like my wife had gone through two unfortunate passings of her parents back to back, within 6 months of each other, you know.
hard.
Um, yeah, I mean that was back in 2018 and 19, so it's been some time, but like I kind of asked her questions and just try to like my uncle, his brother had passed away about a year ago. um, and each day anybody that has lost someone knows that it doesn't get any easier, it gets harder, especially with the family holidays. As doesn't matter what nationality we are, we still miss them, we still celebrate what we celebrate, right? Christmas or
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, or in our own particular way and fashion that we kind of were raised in, and what traditions and stuff like that, right? um, you know my and it was, I'm not making jokes, but like when I went to the funeral, I I wore red. What do you think of? It's Christmas, right? Christmas, my father loved Christmas, so I wore a red shirt with a Christmas tie, and everybody
That's the
seemed
way
to
to do it.
smile, and they're like,
Yeah.
and then they're like, he goes, that made us smile. A few people said that. So I
Oh,
was like, all right, so, I mean, I have, I have like 200 of these books that my sister and my brother-in-law found in my father's basement. You know, I mean, thinking about a published book in 1971. I don't even think it has an
That's
IBN
hard
number
work.
on there. Like,
my God. What would
like,
it even have taken back then in
Exactly.
1971 to
Yeah.
self-publish a book? I can't even wrap my head around that.
but the thing is, it's not soft cover; it's hardcover.
That's
That's
Yeah,
even
I,
worse.
I saw
Yeah.
a picture of it on Facebook, and I was just
Yeah.
like, it's like one of those like fancy cloth covers too, right? It's not.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really
it
nice.
just, it just has like my dad's it just has the title, and then when you open it up, it said on my mind, and he's got like a lot of different things, and he's got like short poems, so like 3 lines, 4 lines at best. It's not, but he was a person that he's probably got close to 500 books between my mom's house, like all over the place. It's just insane, But he's been my inspiration to write, to continue to write, to keep on doing what I'm doing, to keep on tucking around. And we all have our inspiration, and we believe in what we write, we believe in what we draw, we believe in everything, that what we're doing is there's a purpose, right? We have a purpose for that, and the hardest thing is knowing that I can't call him, and that whether it's doing a Comic-Con or just, hey dad, what's going on, how's your day, how's just reaching out, and saying hi dad, hi mom, or whoever is that close to you, you know you know um you know trying not to get choked up and cry, as I mean, I've done enough of that. you know that picture that Ralph just showed was awesome, because after COVID, I guess about a year after COVID, you know mom was starting to get a little you know Alzheimer's and stuff like that. So I at Cradle, I did Cradle Con, but that was like the winter. They did something like in December. I don't remember which one it was. He got to meet Seamus, and he got to meet Pete. Fat Guy Inc. He got to meet.
fun.
Um, and he got to like see what I do, how I set up. I mean, that's not the setup that I have now, but he went with me, and it was awesome. And I just saw the light, the fire that he had. Seeing that was just like, oh man, just how proud he was and everything. And I know my dad's proud of me, as a person, as a human being, as an artist, as a husband, as a father, as an uncle, as a brother. you know um it definitely has meant a lot to me. How dad inspired me to continue to do this and never give up on what I believed in. But he's always been like that. So never give up on what you believe in, your dreams are. Even though they might be far fetched. Who would have thought I went to school for hospitality, not writing a book. But most people that go to school don't exactly go. They have a degree in something, and later in life they find something else that they enjoy, right? It's just the realism of life. But
Don't worry, Frank. I went the other way. I went to school for broadcasting, and I didn't use that for years.
Wow. Okay.
yeah, but look where you are now. Now you're broadcasting.
Well, I call it full circle. You go all the way around. You go, hey, wasn't I supposed to be doing this?
Yeah, you learn the thing, and then you do everything else, and you go back to the thing you learned, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's amazing just having dad. Um, he's meant the world to me. He's him and my mom have raised me and my sister. Both we were both adopted, and then just just having that support system has honestly meant the world from 1996. So you're thinking about it's 2024, what, almost 30 years, right? Supporting me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I met my best friend Jim, he supported me, and I have my wife, and I have my son that loves coming to the Comic Cons. I have my friend Steve that supports me when I do it. When I do Comic Cons, I've had really good support systems over the years, but he's been my number one fan, obviously, since 1996. So, um, you know, um, it's going to be rough, just even though it's just going over a bridge.
Yeah.
Um, but it's that emptiness that you have from your mom and your dad, that love and and everything. So it's definitely touting in 1971 to get a poetry book or a book just to be published in
A
71.
hardcover book.
Yeah,
In the 70s,
hardcover, not soft, hardcover book in 1971,
that's
and
hard.
well, just what he had to probably go through to get it done. But you know what? He was determined to do it, and by darn, he did it. Um, I mean, he didn't have any resources. He didn't have people that he knew, so he didn't know anything. And just like some other people in this industry that kind of had to figure it out for themselves, right? We all haven't had people that who could coach us, right? Some people might have, other people might have got advice, but for the most part, we haven't had people that 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 people would have to hop through in the obstacles. Like we think we have obstacles. Can you imagine in 1971 putting a hardcover book? I can't imagine.
Bro,
I
it's
thought,
And
it's
you know,
not like you could even like be like, all right, let me look on the internet and see like this printing company and then compare quotes. Like, where
yeah,
do you go to get something printed in
How do you,
1971?
and how do you shop around and find a good rate for that?
exactly.
I don't know, but
Oh, cool.
the thing about it, my father never bragged about it. Like
Nice.
he was a humble person. He was very quiet, so he was very humble. And what mattered most to him was that he always took care of all of us, right? Like made sure that we went on vacations and spent family time and had dinner time at the table and talk about the day or whatever. And my
Yeah.
father would always let me, when I played basketball with him, he would always make sure I got the winning basket. Just like little things. You
Aw.
know, just as a little pipsqueak like me. But he was a great human being, and we had more people like that in the world. Maybe the world would be not so crazy place
The
like
world
it
would
is
be a
now.
lot more chill if you're any example of how the world would be. Like the world would be a lot more
Not much
chill.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, all the people that I've bumped into from all you guys, everybody's always, we're good people, and there's not enough, as I say, there's not enough good people in the world. Doesn't matter, you know, what nationality or what you believe in, what religion you are, if you have any religion, what, whatever, right? We all come from different backgrounds, different ethnics, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, all of our hearts are always good and pure, and that's what this world needs. Needs more good people in this world. You know,
Definitely.
um, and I still can't believe he published a book in 1971. I mean, I hadn't known about it, but like, just by God, how did he even figure out? Like, I would like thinking, got published in 1971, so you figure 1968, he probably had to start some process or something like that. Like,
And here
where do
I
you
am. I'm like,
start?
I have to wait 2 months for my comics to be printed, and homeboy's probably been like waiting for like years.
Right.
That's how it was back then. Yeah, we talk about it all the time, especially when I'm talking about Kickstarters and all that stuff now. Because in the '90s, if you wanted to self-publish, you either had to figure out how to get with with Image or figure out how to do it yourself, which was a chore and a half. Because I looked into it when I was younger, and it was something. It was a task and a half to get yourself self-published, and it cost you an arm and a leg.
I bet.
I don't even want to think about the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, but the funny thing is, like, I had known about it, which I did in the 90s. Like, I found it's like, oh, he gave it to me, but then I didn't know, like, digging through some of the stuff. Like, we had put it out at the funeral home, and like everybody came up to me that knew. There's a few people that know me for some time. Is like, and people were taking it. It's like, your dad published a book. I said, my dad was very quiet and very humble person, and he didn't like to brag. Unlike some people like me, hey, I wrote the Dark Legend.
No, you're still humble. Shut
You're
your
a
face.
salesman. There's a difference.
You're a very humble salesman, though.
I feel like today, with the advent of
but
social
I mean,
media,
he loved his writing, and it's almost like when I went to a Comic-Con, he kind of lived through my eyes, right? And it's something that he probably, because he was so quiet, and he was like, you could do that. You could go talk to people and stuff like that. Not that he couldn't, but it's a different, like, he had a different personality, and but it was just great that I got to read some of the poems, and some of, like, my cousin read like a couple when after we went to the cemetery, and just got some cannolis and some Italian food for my dad and everything. He loved his cannolis. Listen, no matter who you are, cannolis are awesome.
Yes.
Sorry.
10,000% agreed. Could go for some right now, actually.
Oh, yeah, I brought up food. I'm like, now I want to go to a bakery.
Yeah, right. I'm like, is my local bakery
still
open?
You guys can go to what? Well, that's in the city.
Oh, I'd have to take a trek right now. It's 9:30. Most of my guys over here are closed.
Yeah, my local place is closed at like 8 o'clock. I ain't taking the train nowhere at this hour.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. No.
Maybe
tomorrow. We'll get a
tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll stay in my head for at least a day or two.
It's something to look forward to in the morning.
Exactly.
It's a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Hey, look, breakfast. A good. You know what'd be awesome? A cannoli muffin.
Ooh.
Cannoli cream muffin? I've had a cannoli cream cake before, and it was as amazing as it sounds. But cannoli
cream but
rejoicing right now.
that would be like, all right, I'm done for the day. I can't eat lunch, breakfast. Well, that'd be my breakfast, and lunch would be like, yeah, I'm done.
That would be really
filling. Cream is so heavy. Yeah,
that'd be really
so satisfying.
Oh my god!
But I mean, just knowing that what he had to go through with my dad to write that book in 1971 was amazing. I give all the kudos to Dad to kind of inspire me to continue to do what I'm doing, to continue to write. I have my best friend that basically kicks my ass once in a while, and be like, hey, you got to get writing. You got to get writing. Got to try to find time. I know he's right. That's easier said than done, with certain things in life, but he's definitely been my inspiration, and he's definitely been my hero, as my parents have been my hero to me and my sister, just in, my brother-in-law has been awesome. He's been someone I know for just as long as my best friend, which I know him 24 years. I know my brother-in-law just about 23 years. So it's just crazy, it's just awesome that you guys let me open up, which, I mean, for most of you guys know me off screen, most of you guys, and just very humble person. And I hope, I greatly appreciate you letting me talk about my dad,
Thank you for sharing all of this. This was very touching.
Especially, it's inspirational too, because again, a book in the 70s.
I mean, also, it just seems like everything was, just kind of laid out, where it's just like, he had this book, then, you got adopted, and then he kind of pushed you into writing, and like, now you are like, here you are with all of these books, and like, you're building up your audience, and you're doing cons, and like, it's very just touching. I mean, that's really the only word I can use.
But it is. It's.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect word for it, right? Because he was my inspiration. I didn't have like we all talk about heroes, right? Everybody loves their Marvel and Batman and Superman, and his hero was Superman. So we want to go back, right? Because he was born in 41. So who was his hero? Superman. You know, um, what was it? Was it Matt Reeves? Right? Wasn't Matt Reeves the guy that played Superman in the 40s?
George Reeves.
George Reeves.
George
George
Reeves.
Reeves.
Um, I always used to think they was related. George Reeves and related to Christopher Reeves.
A lot of people thought that. Yeah.
But
they're not. It's just convincing, but they had the same last name. It's just
Like, what a coincidence.
right.
I know. Like, out of all people, then you hire Christopher Reeves, and it's like, oh, another Reeves. Oh, that was just the sun continuing. My father loved them both. Right? He was a big Superman. He was a big Willie Mays. I mean, he was heartbroken that Willie Mays passed. That was his idol. Even though he's only like 10 years older than and of course my dad was a Celtic fan, so he was like he never grew up anywhere. He grew up in New York, so I get the Dodgers, I get the Celtics because the Celtics with Bill Russell and that whole team that basically won an entire decade. I mean, he grew up in the prime of sports era, watching all these great teams and stuff like that, minus the Dallas Cowboys. My dad's a Dallas Cowboy fan, was a Dallas Cowboy fan. I'm like, and my best friend's a Dallas Cowboy fan, and he always goes, why did I have to be a Cowboy fan? I'm like, I don't know, you picked it. But my dad followed players, so I think we all tend to do that, but he got to see the Dodgers win the World Series. He got to see the Celtics win like a week ago, but I mean, we all have heroes in our life, and then you're like, oh, I like that guy, I like that guy, whatever superhero, but my superhero was always in front of me. My mom and my dad,
Dude.
they're everything to me, and they always have been. They shaped me and my sister how we are today, and how we present ourselves, and how we are. If like I said, I wrote a letter and then I tried to read it in the restaurant. The way I ended it, I said, which she did. My father helped me come up with my slogan: "Legends never die; they only begin." I said, "Dad, you will always be my legend."
Aw.
That's how I ended. Well, he did. He's like, and my dad was always good with words, so he could kind of like come up. If I gave him like something to kind of like work with, he was always able to like kind of tweak it a little bit, right? And just like, oh, and he goes, "What's the story about?" And then he's like, "When you come up with legends never die, they only begin." He's like, "I will never read the Dark Legend of Foreigner, but I could always help you come up with certain things." And he did. And he's like, "What about legends never die, they only begin?" And that's what he came up with. And so for that, I will be ever grateful, because you guys see me posted on Instagram and Facebook and wherever, right?
Yep.
Legends never die, they only begin. And now you kind of know the history of my writing. So who's going to write my biography now?
Ghost Rider.
No, but
Frank,
he was.
You're going to be at Metropolis, New Jersey?
Yeah.
No, because I was looking it up for you, because you were looking for the dates. That is July 13th and 14th.
14th, right? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was for some reason I thought it was one day, but it's 2 days, 13th and 14th. New
Yeah, I
Jersey.
did that last year. I re-up, but dealing with what I had to deal with, I wasn't really checking emails and looking, and it wasn't like
Kind of stuck up on you, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't the most crucial on my mind, so
Frank,
listen, that was
you need to
really
tell the
good
people,
last year.
because we've heard the beautiful story. Now you need to tell the people what your book's about. So because there's probably new people, and there is, because a bunch of people just showed up like usual. And
Oh yeah, because we passed the 1 hour and 40-minute
oh
mark.
yeah, definitely. As
So
soon as
I
that
guess
happened, I was like,
I guess it's true.
So Frank, tell the people out there all about your books, and I'll put it up what they look like over here. Go for it.
All right, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me and everything and talk about that. I will always be extremely grateful to you guys. Always the people, the new friends I create on here, people I've not met, but probably follow on Instagram and I don't even know it or realize it, because we all do that. Yeah, but anyway, I'm going to be at, Metropolis, New Jersey. I believe that's at Meadowlands, right, Ralph? I believe.
I think so. Hold on, I can pop it back up. Hold on.
I just want to make sure, because I think that's where it was last year.
All right, it says 355 Plaza Drive, Secaucus, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, that's the address. You guys can look it up yourselves.
Yeah.
Y'all got Google.
Yeah, it's basically right over the bridge from what I remember last year.
Yeah, Secaucus is actually pretty close, I think. Like,
I think it is. The map over here does say Meadowlands or Meadow. Let me see. There you go.
Yeah, I've done
Meadow Boulevard.
I did Anime Next when it was in Secaucus, and from me in the Bronx, I think it was like a 20-minute drive, like top.
For me, it's like an hour. It's like an hour and 10 minutes or so if I don't hit traffic or whatever. So from Suffolk County, so it's really not that bad. But anyway, all right. With a heavy heart, the Dark Legend of the Foreigner. Thank you, Dad, for helping me, push me, and get me to write, and always believe in me. Okay, that being said, The Dark Legend of the Foreigner is my first creation back from 1996, and had a lot of inspiration from Dad to kick me to kind of write, and continue to do so. But it's about an ancient Japanese warrior that got frozen 400 years in feudal Japan and wakes up in modern day New York City, Central Park. Man, if someone cracked over from a statue and woke up, I would put on my Roadrunner shoes and be flying.
I just feel like nope, not dealing with this.
I've seen too many movies. I know exactly what other people.
Someone else's problem, not having it.
And then everybody. There are people that there are people that, like, when I did Boston, they always ask me. They're like, he goes, "Why New York?" I'm like, well, the Ghostbusters had the Titanic arrive, like 70 years too late, or we had the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, or with the Avengers.
Everything happens to New York. Just throw more things at New York.
Dude, we're the melting pot, so sooner or later it's going to happen in New York.
Yeah. Also, New York is just a great traumatizing place to put a character from the past.
It is.
To traumatize.
Exactly. Jesse, I was going to say the same thing. I'm traumatized. I'm in New York.
Yeah, I've been in New York all my life, like 39 years, totally traumatized. 0 out of 10, do not recommend.
Exactly.
It's part of being here.
It just seems like everything bad happens in New York. Just seems, I don't know why,
Ninja Turtles in New York. Look at that.
That's true, Tim.
Well,
better late than never. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny. He's like, but
true.
he's
Those
right. Most artists
New
are
York.
I think it has to do with the density of the population, I guess, and just
because I mean, like, what
the
the boroughs have,
inspiration
like,
around us,
what?
too.
Don't the boroughs have like 13 million people within the 5 boroughs or
8
something?
million people.
It's nuts.
Oh, is it 8 million people?
8 million
All right,
people.
I wasn't too far off.
We'll get there eventually.
Because there's always been 8 million people for some reason, and it never goes up.
For like ever. Yeah.
Yeah. It stays 8 million. So that means the same people coming in are the same people.
Probably. I never thought about it that way, but yeah.
Yeah, because if you remember, like when we were kids, it was 8 million. The city has 8 million stories.
Yeah.
But you also got to think
traumatizing.
about right? If it's comics or books or writers, whatever, right? Where was hip hop created, right? New York City,
New York.
right?
Bronx,
So a lot of like graffiti artists, right? Or a lot of them came from New York and that type of art,
The
right?
Bronx.
The Bronx.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that kind of history. Okay, so the Bronx, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you
Same thing
have
with hip hop. The
different,
Bronx.
so like you have different art that has been formed in New York because of the styles and different people from different styles or different creativity and stuff like that. So this is the same platform that we constantly have, whether a comic book, a game, whatever we have, you know, you know, everything seems to come from New York. If you get, New York, California, so I mean, those are very big areas where, the creativities kind of just flow as you, believe in your work, what you believe in, and what we continue to put out there and try for our fans to create great ideas. And we don't know if a dark legend will create someone else from another idea, another fantasy song, or a board game,
It works. We get
or
inspired by each other's stuff.
right. So in essence, it's not like I always, there are other books, like some, not a lot, but some people come up to me and he's like, oh man, if their table's next to mine, they're like, I don't know how I'm gonna succeed against something like you. And I said, I'm not here to beat you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody's into different things.
We were
And
talking
I
about
said,
that last week. We were saying that this whole idea that we're supposed to be competing with each other. We're not competing.
No,
with
and it also, like, no two people will handle the same story the same
Exactly.
way. I mean, like, you can give any of us, like, a story topic or a prompt or whatever. We're all going to come up with something completely different.
100%.
Like, nobody can
100%.
do what you do.
Right.
Exactly. That's the way it is.
A beautiful
Because
part.
our creativity and our minds completely, not that they don't work the same, which they don't, because we come up with
We have different
create
perspectives, too.
100%. If someone was in my head coming up with the Dark Legend, there's probably other things. I've looked at those me notebooks. Oh my God, that's not even the same story. It's really
Don't
not.
you love
Oh,
it when
no,
that
no.
happens?
Yeah.
It's never the same
No.
story.
And
So
it's
the
funny because
basis-
that's why I like writer's prompts, because writer's prompts kind of showcase that. You can take that one writer's prompt, 5 different writers, 5 different stories, don't look nothing like each other.
No. I mean, in the first story, basically the same stuff, like ancient Japanese warrior got frozen for 400 years. That was always original. And then I had like different other people, and then different like when I originally hand wrote it, I didn't develop it. I never went to school for creative writing, and I was like, all right, I was what 76. I can't do math. 19. 96. So I was 18, 92. I was 20 when I wrote that. So, because I had graduated high school in 94. So 1996, I was 20. Wow. Man, I feel old now doing the math.
I feel like we're all starting to feel a little old now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was in my 20s in the 90s. Let's leave it that way.
I was 11 back then.
That makes me and Ralph feel old,
No, I shouldn't have said anything.
But the fact that I
No, you keep that to yourself. I'm fine.
Still kicking, baby. We're still kicking.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're like cheese, we just get better with age or something.
Well,
Does cheese get better with age?
Like a fine wine, right? We're like fine wine.
I like
right?
cheese more than wine, though.
That's fair.
So do I.
That's true.
As long as it's not milk, we're good.
Oh,
Yeah, if it's milk, then we're all in trouble.
It's like a fine curdled milk. It just gets worse and all downhill from here.
Oh my God, Jesse, tell the people your stuff one more time.
Oh yeah. So again, creator of writer. I'm remembering this from last week when that was a surprise. Creator, writer, and illustrator of Ashes of Eden.
There you go.
I'm getting used to that. Ran it as a webcomic for 3 years. Now we only have 3 days left on our Kickstarter. We fully funded in 15 hours. And it's
amazing.
Thank you so much, Matta. And it's a story of a dungeon crawl to find a legendary treasure gone wrong when a scrappy archaeologist unravels a thread to forbidden knowledge, humanity's true origins. So we're having a lot of fun with it. We think it's like a good anime, like 90s, 80s anime style.
Oh, it definitely feels like that.
So, yeah.
That's one of the reasons I was asking you that question about how, because I know people get funny with anime.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I was asking you the question too, because people go, this is an anime.
Right. You're like, you're not a mangaka. You're like, you're a white boy from Queens. And I'm like, half a white boy, but still from Queens. So yeah, it's like, and it's not in Japanese, so you can't be a mangaka. So it's like, okay.
So many gatekeepers.
Seriously, it's tiring. Just do what you're doing and do the best version of what you're doing, and
Exactly.
just everyone else can just piss off.
Exactly, pretty much, and that's kind of the spirit of the book. So we're having,
love it.
Yeah, and so it's like a little bit of a 80s, 90s anime rock.
You know what, Jesse? I'm going to help you out. I'm going to play the video.
There we go.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Thank you.
Humanity resurfaces to a new dawn.
That's what it's about.
Brave explorers called Terra Divers scour the snowy wasteland for ancient halon crystals, powerful stones that keep their village alive. But when Ash unearths Eden, a girl from a forgotten civilization, they must now race against the secret society to unveil the truth of what their world has become before Eden's past is erased forever. Welcome to Ashes of Eden. Hi, I'm Jesse Judy, writer and creator of Ashes of Eden, the post-apocalyptic comic book journey about a boy and a girl who stand up for what's right, even when they're told that they're wrong. If you've ever questioned your beliefs, sought truth, and found yourself on the other side of that, this book's for you. I wrote Ashes of Eden to create more mindful heroes that unveil hidden wisdom as a reminder that the answers we seek are already within us. Think Indiana Jones meets Mega Man with a globetrot across world mythology. After 3 epic years as a webcomic, Ashes of Eden comes to life in 28 pages of glossy glory. Now, we're funding a print run of 1,000 copies or more. So why Kickstarter? Well, great news. The book is 100% complete, successfully test printed, and acclaimed at conventions like Anime NYC and Anime Expo LA. But the biggest question I get is still, Jesse, how do I get a copy if I can't make it to conventions? Well, that is why I've come to Kickstarter. I've put a lot of skin into the game, and now I'm calling on you to join the journey with your pledge. Backer-only rewards include a copy before it ever sells at shows, the revolutionary NFC Halon Crystal that you gotta check out. I'll include another video down below with the campaign because it's really special. Insane exclusive stretch goals like be in the book, and even retail rewards to get us in stores. With your help, I'm gonna make my goal a reality and get Ashes of Eden to more readers than ever before. Thank you so much for joining me on my creative journey and for checking out this special presentation. Ashes of Eden is happening, and it's even cooler because of your support. Back your favorite reward, and I'll see you on the other side.
There you go. That helped you out.
Thank you. It does. It touches on some of the deeper, darker stuff we were talking about earlier. But
I just think it's funny that the whole conversation went completely full around, and then Frank brought half the stuff we were talking about all over again.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot. It's prevalent. I think it's important. It's something, not just because it's in the zeitgeist, but I think it's something in all of us as creators and just people who are even people just consuming their favorite media. Like, I think people are starting to ask more questions. They're starting to realize that, like, all right, this whole kind of machine is built against us.
Time to rage against it.
Right. And like, what's important? What's like inside here? Why are we here? I think we're here much bigger reasons than like get a job, pay bills, die. There's something else.
Well,
I agree, but I think it's so funny because you got all these people who are raging against the machine, and then they are part of the machine.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. When you break out of it.
The artwork is really good.
I'm fighting the machine, and then you believe in that, though, right? Yeah. Why? That's not part of the machine.
Right. Exactly. Frank, thank you
The
so much.
artwork's really good. It's really good, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know what I could draw? Stick figures.
Word.
You know what, Frank? That is how you start.
I am proud of
Start
my
with
stick
figures.
figure. I am really proud of them.
Good. You should be.
You know,
Yeah.
I've been doing this stuff all my life, and especially when you're trying to do a video or film something, you know, you got to do the little stick figures that show off exactly this is what we're gonna do here.
Yeah, you gotta have the visuals, man. You gotta. Even if it's
guys
stick
have,
figures.
like, you know,
Tate said that you and him graduated the same year.
Word.
Andrew said that I'm a class of 1999. Mrs. the cybernetic teacher killed robots. And I don't know.
XKCD is a stick figure comic. It's a webcomic that's been going on like forever and ever.
There we
They'll
go.
have stick figure characters and like the most intricate backgrounds, and you're just like I know you can draw. Okay.
Have you seen the stick figure fighting?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Grew up with that. It was like the advent of the internet getting
Exactly. All right, Maddie, your turn.
Oh, what am I doing?
Tell us
what you're doing.
the story.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so I am the artist, writer, everythinger for Sacrimony, A Tale of Love, Life, and Death in no particular order. It's the story of a girl who dies, but then she got better. And as with most mysterious resurrection stories, there's a catch. The catch is that she has no memory of her past, no idea why she has demon wings, or why she has to hide her demon wings from society. Yeah, so I recently finished kickstarting issues 1 through 7. So yeah, I've been at this for a while on issue 7. I've still got pre-orders available through Backer Kit here. If you go to the Kickstarter also, you can find a link to the Backer Kit because that's handy. But yeah, if you want to catch up on the series, I've got issues 1 through 7 there. I've got a handy dandy field guide that kind of feels like the D&D player's handbook, but you know, without all of the rules. And yeah, it's a fun story. It's a fantasy story. It's a drama, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a lot of satire about real life and just, you know, things that we go through every day, questioning the gods, questioning the people who tell us bad information, dysfunctional families, dysfunctional god families. Like it's very hard to sum it up in one pitch because there's just so much chaos going on. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the pitch is weird, but like once you read it, you'll get it. You'll understand what I'm going for.
The pitch is beautiful. It's not weird.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love the pitch,
No.
especially when she died and got better.
Yeah. Shout out to Monty Python. Stole that
Oh
from
my
them.
God. And you deliver it that same way. And I think that's why I love it so much, because it's just that mighty pop.
Turned me into a newt. I got better.
I got better.
Exactly. It's just a scratch.
Right. Mere flesh wound.
Exactly. And folks, I am happy that you guys. Oh, look, I'll check it out.
Hey, thanks, Celeste.
And I put all the links into the bio. Into the messages over there. So go check them out. I made it easier for you. So, you know, you're being
There's no
lazy.
excuse.
Exactly.
Thank
And
you.
folks, we have been on for 2 hours and 18 minutes.
I am dying right now.
Exactly. I'm dying as well. It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. My brain's shutting down. But
And it feels like this is going to be the week with all the long shows, because on Wednesday, we're going to be doing a whole new little thing with collab. And me and the guys from Shadowmare will be starting off the show at 8 o'clock. And then Matt and the rest of the guys will be joining us at 10:30.
like sane people.
Exactly. I'm
So
insane.
the show that you're doing with Shadowmare, is it going to be on their channel, or is it going to be on your YouTube, or is
It's
it going to be on both?
channels.
Oh, cool.
That's the
You're-
collab.
You're crossing the streams.
Exactly. See?
Wow.
Jess, you're welcome to show up at 8. You're welcome to show up at 10:30. It's all up to you.
Dude, I appreciate that. Thank you for welcoming me back. And Frank, it's a pleasure to meet you today. I'm sorry about the circumstances, but it's amazing to put a face with the name, man.
Well, thank you. I mean, I want to become friends with you. Definitely. Where you on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, all over Kickstarter, all over Facebook.
Yeah, Frank's on Instagram too.
Yeah. There. That's
All
awesome.
right, so I'll do what I always do here on the Written Writ, which is this. I press the button,